So now on to rounds 11 and 12 at Oulton Park, and there for us, Steve Parish and Barry Nutley.
Welcome to a gloriously sunny and very hot Oulton Park in Cheshire. Third in the championship, John Reynolds has put his Ducati on pole position for the second time this season, with no illusions about what he must do if he's to catch championship leader Neil Mackenzie. But the big news here is that Reynolds' teammate, 1995 champ Steve Hislop, was dropped immediately after Thruxton due to his disappointing results and lack of form. He's been replaced in the team by the 1994 champ Ian Simpson, who unfortunately has been quite ill for the past 3 days with a stomach bug. This gave him next to no time to get used to the bike, and he could do no better than 8th in round 11. Sean Emmett, 5th in the championship, crashed out at the Shell hairpin, and all efforts to restart were in vain. Neil Mackenzie made yet another slow start, which saw him in 6th position after lap 1. He fought and clawed his way through the field to catch and pass race leader John Reynolds on lap 9. These two were then out on their own. Popular Kawasaki man Ray Stringer took win number 6 in the Privateers Cup to extend his already very impressive series lead. But in the closing laps, the pace at the front was mighty hot, and it was still Mackenzie and Reynolds. With 2.5 laps left on the clock, we pick up the action with Steve Parish.
Two of the most experienced riders in the UK battling it out on possibly one of the most demanding circuits here. This is incredible. Neil Mackenzie has won so many races this year, but John Reynolds has pushed him all the way. There we see him exiting Druids Corner, third gear corner, as they come up towards Lodge. This is one of the overtaking places that it will be possible, I'm quite sure, but Mackenzie goes in there. In second gear, hard on the power, 160 horsepower over the start and finish line as the bikes wriggle and weave through there. John Reynolds' Ducati doesn't look to be handling at all well. He's obviously got the bike set up for turn-in, but not for stability. It's wriggling all over the place. Now they are out of Old Hall Corner, down the avenue towards Cascades, the left-hander. As they come in here, they'll shift down 3 gears into third gear. Reynolds very, very close at this point. They're coming up to one of the faster parts of the course as the back marker in front. They're coming along here now about 155 miles an hour before they brake to go into the left-hander. This corner here leads into the Shell Oil's hairpin, so it's down on the brakes here. Hard down into second gear. This point here, John Reynolds will be trying to close because he's coming up towards the Fulston chicane, accelerating out of this corner into Fulston chicane, now down into second gear once again. Up now through the gears. Mackenzie, you can see him shifting his weight forward, trying to keep the front wheel down as they crest the rise. Reynolds is up the slipstream now. Down the inside, Reynolds goes into the corner, and he's coming into Knickerbrook, and he's gone through. Reynolds now takes the lead. Look at him using all the road there as they go up towards Clay Hill, over the top. This is the fastest part of the course, 157 miles an hour before they break into Druids.
Back here in April, it was a Yamaha heading John Reynolds home, and it was Chris Walker on that occasion. This time, it is the championship leader, Neil Mackenzie. Mackenzie's on the outside line, up the inside goes John Reynolds on the Ducati. Reynolds is determined to take the victory this time. Round 11, over halfway now through the championship. They touched, the man ahead of the number 40, John Pugh, a tail ender, 2.7 miles to go. Mackenzie leads again, he's back on the inside of the Ducati ace. What, Steve, has John Reynolds got to do?
I really don't think John Reynolds knows. He's tried everything this season to beat this man, number 1, Neil Mackenzie, and he'll be following in his wheel tracks for this last lap. Neil Mackenzie gets faster and faster. It was his 36th birthday here last night, and the man is getting quicker. His determination and integrity improves all the while. But meanwhile, Reynolds is going to have a look. I'm sure he will. He's following in those wheel tracks. They're into one of the slower corners. The Shell Oil's hairpin corner, second gear, up toward Fulston's. And as I said earlier, this is a very, very important corner because Reynolds will be trying to get the slingshot out of this corner so he can get into that slipstreaming position once again. They're into this part now and accelerating hard up the hill again. The front wheel leaves the ground as they crest the rise. Reynolds has a look, but no, he can't do it. Meanwhile, Mackenzie stays in the middle of the road to try and block him into Knickerbrook. Coming round here now, third gear, Mackenzie now. He's using all the road. Look at that, right the way across, being as wide as he possibly can over the top of the hill. This man is virtually unbeatable, I think, but it'll be Lodge Corner where Reynolds will have a look.
It's very, very hot. The crowd is very, very hot. These two riders must be boiling in these conditions. 15 laps at this breakneck speed. Mackenzie's keeping the door shut. Reynolds trying a sweeping overtaking move. He's got to tuck inside. Get the power on. No, Mackenzie's closed the door. There's nowhere for Reynolds to go. The checkered flag is out, and it's win number 6 for Neil Mackenzie. A fantastic fight through by number 3, Terry Reimer, having got the better of a four-way scrap with Chris Walker, Michael Rutter and Ian McPherson, came to nothing when both he and McPherson were disqualified for racing with no front mudguards. So, win number 6 for Mackenzie, a brave effort from Reynolds for his 20 points, Walker promoted to 3rd with Rutter 4th. Race Stringer, a fantastic ride, got him in the top 8, ahead of a stricken Ian Simpson, 40 seconds behind the winner.
John Reynolds was riding really well. Ducati was really fast, and it was hard work.
Did you expect him to hang on to you right till the end?
I wasn't sure how good his tyres were. Mine were going off slightly towards the end, but I think John's maybe had gone off and weren't going off anymore, so he was able to hang on, obviously. I was looking at the lap timer, and the lap times were fairly fast, so his bike was obviously working good as well.
I misjudged it totally. I thought that was the last lap. I came over the brow of the hill there, expecting to see the checkered flag, and he just wasn't there. What a cock-up that was, really. I missed everything to overtake the hill then, but it went wrong.
And there was no chance on the last lap. What was the last lap?
Yeah, basically, I showed my hand to Neil the lap before, and he knew exactly what to do. I mean, he's a professional, and he just basically kept the door closed on me, and he was quick where he was slower the lap before. But credit to Neil, I mean, he didn't need to do that, but he just wants to beat me desperately, I think.
But another race yet to come.
Oh, yes, looking forward to that one.
Well, he might be looking forward to it. Pole position, John Reynolds, Mackenzie alongside him. Then it's Walker, Sean Emmett completing the front row, Michael Rutter, Terry Reimer and Ian McPherson, this time with front mudguards, and Jim Moody completing the second row. Ian Simpson, number 22, does not start this time. The tummy bug got the better of him. The red flag man will move away. The lights will then go from red to green. Once he gets off the track, the riders know the lights will change any second, and they go. 2.7 miles, 15 laps of it. Terry Reimer, a good start, but he's boxed in. It looks like a Yamaha. Yes, it is Chris Walker. Sean Emmett, number 5 on the Ducati, has gone with him. Round Old Hall. Down the avenue they go. Approaching the left-hander of Cascades, Chris Walker, number 2, leads on the Yamaha. Sean Emmett, number 5. Then it's John Reynolds, number 33. There's Terry Reimer on the green Kawasaki, outside of first race winner Neil Mackenzie. So Mackenzie, a better start this time, number 1 on the right of your picture. Michael Rutter dropping back now, but Chris Walker, who won here in April, who also crashed here in April, has given the lead to Sean Emmett, and that's a brave move, Steve. That's where Emmett crashed in the last race.
Very brave move, breaking into Shell Oil's hairpin where he did crash in the first race. So Emmett now leads this. Number 5, Sean Emmett, as they go into Falston's chicane. He'll be really pushing hard as he didn't get any points in that first race and determined to do well in this championship. So the crest the rise here, and it's Emmett leading from number 2, Walker. Reynolds in 3rd place, number 33. Terry Reimer up to 4th, so he's now past Neil Mackenzie as they go through Knickerbrook Corner. Emmett again using all the road, up the hill. A very scary part of the circuit. The riders admit they don't like it. It's very fast and not very wide. Bumpy now as they come into Druids Corner, double apex corner as they go through there. Reynolds is the man, it looks like, on the charge at this present point.
Number 13, Ian McPherson, crashed here very heavily in April. It doesn't seem to have dented his confidence. Sean Emmett, number 5 on the Ducati. Ducati lead, Yamaha in 2nd, Kawasaki in 3rd, Ducati in 4th, Yamaha in 5th with Mackenzie. So Mackenzie in 5th. He's just been pipped ever so slightly. Terry Reimer is closing now on the leading pair, but it's Walker, number 2, Chris Walker, the 24-year-old from Nottingham. What a ride he's had this season. 2 wins so far in the championship. He won here last time out. Can he do it again? Sean Emmett, 1 win only in the championship. All of the wins have been shared between Walker, Mackenzie, Reynolds, and the number 5 Ducati man. On the GSE Ducati, Sean Emmett. Look at Terry Reimer in 2nd place, the green bike, and the big Londoner determined to make amends for what so far, Steve, has been an utterly catastrophic season.
Yeah, things just haven't run for Terry Reimer and Kawasaki this year. Hot favourites at the start of the season, but unfortunately they've not been able to convert some of these positions on the grid into race results. But Terry now up into 2nd. He looks like the man on the charge as they come through here. He keeps saying that the Kawasaki isn't fast enough, but he's riding the wheels off it. He's very fast in the corners, and he's really pushing now right close in behind Chris Walker as they go into Knickerbrook Corner. So Terry Reimer looks like the man to be chasing at this moment, and it is Emmett behind him, who will be trying to keep with Terry Reimer, because Terry looks to be the fastest man on the circuit. Chris Walker will be a little worried about this circuit from his big crash here in April, so I don't think he'll be the fastest man on the circuit. Reimer has a look down the inside as they come up towards Lodge Corner, and Reimer gets on the inside. He's got the corner. Walker will look to cut back, but he won't be able to because Reimer's on the power very early. Reimer already stretched a little bit of advantage, but he hasn't. Walker on the outside, so now Walker will have the inside line as they go down towards Old Hall, and he does. Walker gets through on the inside. This is turning into a huge battle.
It's difficult to forget the men at the front, but you have to pay credit to the whole bunch. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men. In fact, 8 of them locked in a tooth and nail struggle. It's anybody's race, and I think it's indicative that all of the other teams are getting quicker as we get deeper into the season. Chris Walker on the we know the Yamaha's quick. We know the Kawasaki's quick. We also know John Reynolds' Ducati is quick. But look at Terry Reimer now, determined to get a win. If he does nothing else, he's going to go away from Oulton Park in July with a win. Terry Reimer in second, number 3. Pushing hard, right with him now in third place. Neil Mackenzie, the championship leader, and John Reynolds. These 4, if I can say they're breaking away, that might be an overstatement, because everybody else is going with them. Reynolds looking at the inside line, trying to grab third place from Mackenzie. Terry Reimer hunting down Chris Walker. It's a test, Steve. I think a real test of the youngster's staying power. Can he keep cool under that helmet with all this frantic activity going on behind him?
Well, there's still a long way to go, and these bikes weaving and bucking around, and this particular part of the circuit is very bumpy. You see the front wheels coming up. Reimer has another look down the inside, and he does it. He gets through. Reimer goes through now, once again at Lodge Corner. He will be bitterly disappointed about that disqualification from the first race through not having a front mudguard. You can see it fitted again now, but that's because it's deemed in the regulations the bike must silhouette the road-going machine, and we saw Walker going through there with a rear, leaving a huge black line as he went into that corner. He now uses a hand rear brake, so Walker really using motocross style as he brakes into the corner there. Reimer having a look round the outside. He won't be able to do it round this long, long left-hander because Walker will run all the way out to the grass, and if Reimer's there, he'll have to go on the grass, but he's not. He's tucked in now behind Walker as they come up to this very fast left-hand corner, 5th gear corner as they go through here. Island corner, extremely fast. Reimer on the inside now as he goes into Shell Oil's hairpin. Reimer takes the lead once again. This is going to be a battle right to the end, I believe.
I think we owe it to you to point out why Terry Reimer removed his mudguard. That's to make the bike run cooler. You can see the mudguard sits there under the fairing. It obstructs or partially obstructs the radiator, which sits down there behind the front wheel. It's so hot here at Oulton Park, the bikes are having great difficulty maintaining a working low temperature. The removal of the mudguard meant that the airflow through the radiators increased, hence they took it off. He's got it on now, though. It doesn't seem to impede the progress. He's got a flying Yamaha duo behind him. Number 2, Chris Walker. Number 1, Neil Mackenzie. Race leader number 3, Terry Reimer, who is stretching away 2 or 3. Oh, dear me! A huge wobble by Mackenzie. He is really piling on the coals. His own lap record here has yet remained unchallenged, which indicates to me that maybe Jamie Whittam pushed him a little bit harder last year than he's being pushed this year. Steve, it certainly doesn't look like it.
It really doesn't, because we did see Neil Mackenzie really wobbling around as they came out of Druid's corner, and that's just about because the bike goes very light. He's starting to shift his weight around, and as he moves that bike, as it's in mid-air, it starts to wriggle, but that doesn't slow him. So Mackenzie now is taking up the challenge on Terry Reimer as they go down into Cascades corner. And it's Reimer. Reimer is off. And if you're going to fall off at Oulton Park, that's the best place to do it, because you can see all the runoff area. And you can also see that the bike is destroyed, but Terry Reimer is up and okay and walking away from this big crash.
A very lucky man. That was a big one, and that's a pretty second-hand Kawasaki motorcycle, I can tell you. Oh, Michael Rutter, looking back from Michael Rutter. Jim Moody, number 21, on the Suzuki closing. They move well over. That's Sean Emmett going backwards. Emmett looks as though he's got a problem. The chasing bunch, though, Mackenzie, Walker and Reynolds now side by side. Up to second goes John Reynolds. Slips the Ducati. The filling in the Yamaha sandwich. The Ducati man is in second. Chris Walker hanging on to his coattails. And these 3 now breaking away. Michael Rutter is in 4th. That puts Jim Moody, number 21 on the Suzuki, in 5th, and the Suzukis are going better and better. And the crowd, a great round of applause for this man. And look at this horrendous crash. Over and over and over goes the bike. He's very lucky it didn't land on him. There's a lot of weight there, and it can do a lot of harm. But Terry Reimer up on his feet, and we look forward to his next appearance, which won't, incidentally, be Mallory Park.
In fact, the Kawasaki mechanics are going to have to work very hard, because that machine that we just seen virtually destroyed will be ridden by Steve Hislop at Mallory Park, as Terry Reimer is away riding in the Suzuka 8-hour race in Japan. So we won't be seeing Reimer at Mallory Park, but we are seeing his teammate right there, number 13, that's Ian McPherson, and behind him is Jim Moody on the Suzuki. Back to the front now, it's Neil Mackenzie through Falston chicane, and it's also right behind him is John Reynolds on the Ducati. Will we see a close finish again? Reynolds has the inside line as they come down towards Knickerbrook, exactly as we saw in the earlier races here today, and he's gone through, yet so close. Mackenzie nearly touched his back wheel. Now John Reynolds accelerates up the hill. Mackenzie is very good at Druids, we've seen that before also, so will Mackenzie let Reynolds get away? I don't think so.
Number 5, Sean Emmett, has also made a remarkable recovery from what must have been a missed gear or a slight mechanical hiccup, because he's running there strongly in 5th. But now Reynolds, 33, leads. Mackenzie, number 1, in 2nd, hunting him down, and they're just easing away now. This pair going away, I think, from the chasing bunch. Walker still there, though, in 3rd. Rutter in 4th. That'll be his 2nd, 4th place of the day, if he can hang on to that. Emmett's putting him under pressure, but these two, Mackenzie is riding better, and I think Steve Parish has already said better than we've seen him go ever. The man just goes from strength to strength. He is unbelievably consistent, unbelievably smooth. His 250cc Grand Prix years of experience give him tremendous corner speed, tremendous stability, and he is just so awesome, I think is the word his teammate Chris Walker used of him. Honda mounted, Michael Rutter, number 4, in 4th place. And he's right with Chris Walker. A rostrum place for Michael Rutter. We're looking back from him now, and that's Sean Emmett giving chase.
As they come into the Falston chicane, now Emmett closes in on the brakes, but you'll see that advantage stretch out as they accelerate up the hill, and it does slightly. The Honda has the horsepower. It's coming up over the top of the rise now before they brake very hard. You can hear that engine shifting down into 3rd gear as they go into Knickerbrook corner. Again, Emmett closing slightly on the brakes, going out wide, using all the road there up the hill. This is the fastest part of the circuit, 155 miles an hour, before they're braking once again into the double apex Druids. And there he is, number 4, Michael Rutter, the man we were on board with just a minute ago.
They're all still there. This is still very much a 5-man race. Reynolds, 33, leads. Mackenzie in 2nd place, number 1. Mackenzie, number 1, is in the lead. He sweeps through, down into Deer Leap. The old veteran, he won't mind me calling him a veteran, he was 36 yesterday. He is now in the lead. Walker in 3rd place, but an increasingly insecure-looking 3rd place, because Michael Rutter, number 4, is on a charge. They are shaking away the attentions, I think, of McPherson and Sean Emmett, numbers 13 and 5 respectively. But Mackenzie on his way to win number 7 and a seemingly unassailable lead in the championship. But we still have almost half of the season remaining, and this series just goes from strength to strength. John Reynolds in desperate need of a win in 2nd place. This the battle for 3rd and 4th, and the 4 of them, Steve, still very much locked together. I wouldn't put money on it.
Neither would I, but now we're looking at the battle for 2nd place in the Privateers Cup, and there's Graham Ward, number 14, being followed by Brett Sampson. Sampson, having a look on the inside behind him, is Peter Graves and Andy Ward, who's no relation, and we see there now Brett Sampson going through on the inside. He now gets 2nd place in this Privateers Cup race, but Ray Stringer, the leader in the championship, is way gone. He's up racing it and mixing it with the works team. So now we're looking at 2nd place in this Privateers Cup, but there's no chance, and now he's getting taken again. So Graham Ward goes back in front. No, he doesn't. So a real battle on here. But as I said before, Ray Stringer's right up there with the factory boys, and he has virtually an unassailable lead in this championship.
Well, back at the front, the action is getting really fierce. Just a lap. Oh, dear me. Reynolds, fantastic wheelie and a shake of the head from the Ducati. As Steve Parish said, it's set up to go round corners, but it doesn't like going fast in a straight line. There are tail-enders ahead of Mackenzie, but Reynolds is there. He's just waiting to pounce. Is Mackenzie going to be balked? Can he find a way through? The tail-ender does. The respectable thing and gets out of the way. Reynolds has gone through as well. They are now locked in this scrap, and it's going to go all the way down. They've got half the lap remaining. Reynolds is going to have to squeeze every ounce of power and use all his experience. There's Ray Stringer coasting now to a Privateer Cup win in round 12. A fantastic crowd basking in the sunshine. Look at Reynolds' body language. Head down, tucked in behind the fairing. Mackenzie looks as though he's riding to work. John Reynolds must be so frustrated. The Ducati weaving all over the place. It's shaking itself out of the frame. There appears to be nothing that John Reynolds can do now. Just one more right-hander once they're round this one, and dropping down they go. Over the brow of that little rise, and now they're into Lodge Corner. This is the opportunity for Reynolds, but Mackenzie sweeps round the outside, keeps the door closed into Deer Lead. The left-hander, another wheelie from the Ducati ace. The checkered flag is out, and Mackenzie gets the verdict. Incredible ride, and the crowd, to a man, is on its feet. What a win for the Scotsman. Another devastating display, a win number 7 for Neil Mackenzie from Reynolds, Walker and Rutter missing out again on the rostrum. McPherson got the better of Sean Emmett with the Suzuki duo in 7th and 8th. The Yamaha pair celebrate in style with Chris Walker winning the wheelie competition from Neil Mackenzie, but there's no mistaking the main man. A 50-point advantage for Neil Mackenzie, 2 clear race wins with an even bigger task for John Reynolds. Sean Emmett gained at the expense of Terry Reimer, who drops to 6th. The Suzuki duo are still there.
Neil, 4 race wins now on the trot. You must be very happy.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit like Jamie Whittam. It's just as well he's not here, I suppose. But I think James put 6 or 8 races together last year. Race wins, and that's something else, but I'm happy.
I heard you say Neil's ride was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he is awesome, and the way he just chucks that bike around, he treats it like a 250, just sticks up inside of people and stuff. And you know, I'm learning, but he's got a bit on me at the moment.
Ray Stringer running away with the Privateers Championship from Brett Sampson, with Yamaha way ahead in the manufacturers table, 56 points clear from Ducati. The tight and twisty Mallory Park, this week's venue for the Superbikes. A record crowd, perfect weather, and this man, Neil Mackenzie. Mackenzie, championship leader and winner of 7 races, the last 4 in a row. You can be in no doubt Mackenzie means to keep that #1 plate. Second in the championship, Chris Walker with 2 wins to his credit so far. John Reynolds, also a double winner, crashed out in qualifying and regrettably won't start.
I went into Gerrard's and basically I'd lost the front end, and that wasn't really a big deal. I mean, just stood across the floor and that, no problem at all. But then I hit the gravel and my shoulder dug in, and that's where the shoulder stopped and my body carried on, and I think it just pulled it out of joint.
How long is it going to put you out of action?
I've got to see a specialist on Monday, but I mean, the doctors have said anywhere between 8 weeks and 6 weeks, so well, that's far too long, I think.
Likewise on a Ducati, and the only other man to win a race this year, Sean Emmett is in a confident mood and has put the Ducati on pole position for the day's 2 races.
Sean, a fantastic achievement, your first pole position in the British Superbike Championship. How easy was it to get that pole position?
Really easy, I can believe it. We obviously in the morning it was a bit wet, but we were fastest then, and then it dried up for the afternoon, and we ran race tyres and broke the lap record and set pole, and then went out again later on and did it again. So far it's all far too easy. I'm a bit worried.
I watched qualifying yesterday, and I'd say that you've got this Ducati set up the best I've seen a Ducati all year.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the year I said to everyone it would take, you know, we were playing catch up because it was a brand new team, and I was new to Ducati after 4 years on the 500 Grand Prix bike. And we're slowly but surely, we're really getting there, and I feel now we've reached our sort of, hopefully not the peak, but we're getting there, we're right on top of it.
Steve Hislop, the 1995 champion, just 3 weeks after being dropped from the Ducati team, has a new job. Well, for today at least, he's with Kawasaki, and he's got a point to prove.
My results haven't come up to scratch with the Ducati team, and they weren't very happy, so basically the Red Bull guys just sacked me after Thruxton. So I was left wide open for a ride, and thankfully Colin gave me the chance to replace Terry because he's off to Suzuka this weekend. And you know, it's brilliant. I've just back in the Kawasaki, and the team have worked brilliant over the test days and leading up to today. You know, it's brilliant.
You're third on the grid. The upturn in your performance, what do you put that down to?
Oh, just being in a happy environment, really. I think, you know, it makes such a change to have a good crack, a bit of laugh with the lads, and it's basically a bike that's, you know, really, it's working the way I want it to work. Everything we've changed, it's just improved, and it's a bit like last year when I was on the Kawasaki. You know, I think it seems to suit me, so it's good to be back.
Good to be back indeed for Steve Hislop on the front row with Mackenzie and his teammate McPherson. Pole position man is Emmett. Walker, the other Yamaha, on the second row. Ray Stringer, the privateer, there, number 7. A brilliant performance with Jim Moody and Matt Llewellyn either side of row 2. Ian Simpson, the only Ducati, as Reynolds has crashed out. He's the only other Ducati running down there from the factory teams. Hislop in the pink helmet, McPherson on the right, Mackenzie, and watch the lights as they go to green. 23 laps, a little over 30 miles of this Mallory Park circuit, and a huge crowd in here as they go down towards Gerrard's. It's the Kawasaki pairing hitting the front, but it's McPherson, number 13, first time round Gerrard. Steve Hislop, though, looking the long way round, and he's swooping wide out of Gerrard's and away down Stevie Straight for the first time. Number 11, Steve Hislop leads. A man rejuvenated, a man inspired riding now for Kawasaki on this one-off outing, replacing Terry Reimer away on endurance duty in Japan. Hislop then, number 11, McPherson 13, another Scotsman, 21 Moody, but up the inside at the hairpin. Number 5, Sean Emmett on the Ducati, the pole position man who looked Roger Burnett oh so smooth in qualifying.
Well, Sean's got the Ducati working very well, and I say that, and he's twitching the back end there, but it's early days in this 23-lap race, and that was just a symptom of the left-hand side of the tyre not being warm enough. Mallory Park is 1.37 miles round one lap, and there is only really one left-hand bend, so Sean, they're feeling the effects of not warming the left-hand side of the tyre properly as we look at Michael Rutter exiting Gerrard's on bike number 4. Ahead of him, Moody, Emmett on bike 5, but these are the leaders at the moment. Hislop on bike 11 and McPherson on number 13.
Well, this is a sight to warm the cockles of Colin Wright's heart, the Kawasaki team boss, because no mistaking the first two, they're green bikes. It's McPherson number 13, it's Hislop number 11. Everyone else snaking as they go through. There's Mackenzie, there's Llewellyn, number 2, Chris Walker. The two Kawasaki, Sean Emmett, number 5 on the Ducati, right with them. Now these three going away. Number 21, Jim Moody on the Suzuki, and Michael Rutter, number 4 on the Honda, are staying with them. Emmett now up to second, so he is right between the two Kawasaki's. McPherson leads, Hislop down to third. Sean Emmett, pole position, was supremely confident. He beat Rob McElnay at golf on Friday, so he feels that could well be an omen. An omen it might well be. Emmett leads. Look at Emmett up towards the hairpin. Let's watch his technique as he brakes hard. Front brake hard on down the gears. McPherson is out of shape. The rear end, Roger, of that Kawasaki all over the place.
Well, I think McPherson was looking for Emmett to go into the corner a little bit earlier than he did. He didn't, and McPherson had to alter his line a little bit, but let's not forget that Ian McPherson there on bike number 13, only his first year on a 750cc bike from 600s and doing a remarkable job.
Neil Mackenzie through on the inside of Michael Rutter, the son of the former world champion Tony Rutter. Michael Rutter, number 4. There's Mackenzie. Oh, Matt Llewellyn has been in some sort of trouble. That's at the hairpin. Llewellyn going back on the track with a gentle push from a marshal. Mackenzie now setting about doing the work of whittling down the huge lead that Sean Emmett currently has. There's that lead. McPherson, number 13, with him. Hislop, number 11, and Moody still very much in tow. Mackenzie is in 5th. And as we said at the previous round at Oulton Park, all of the teams now are getting their bikes sorted. They are all very, very comparable in terms of speed and handling, and it's not such a cakewalk for Mackenzie. He has to work every time, Roger.
Well, Mackenzie always makes it look easy, and as he dives up the inside of Jim Moody, but what actually Neil Mackenzie does is he pushes his way around the circuit and he pushes the other riders out of his way. They've got such a lot of respect for him that I've watched, and I don't think anybody's really fighting back at Mackenzie. If someone were to get in there and ruffle him up a bit and give him a little bit of the shoulder pushing that he gives the other riders, maybe he wouldn't find it so easy.
Well, maybe the psychology. We're looking forward now with Steve Hislop. We're riding on board the number 11 Kawasaki, going a little bit wide as we head down towards the chicane. Left. Right, just clipping left again. Now the devil's elbow, the adverse camber left-hander. Fourth gear out of here onto the start-finish straight. Hislop is right with McPherson. Out of the slipstream of McPherson and through into second place goes Steve Hislop, relegating his teammate to third and almost into the clutches of Neil Mackenzie. You are looking at an all-Scottish trio here, and another Scot is right behind them in fifth place in the shape of Jim Moody, number 21. Hislop, McPherson. Up the inside of McPherson goes Mackenzie. So the reigning champion, the series leader, now up to third, but Sean Emmett has got a super lead and looking very smooth.
Well, that was another classic overtaking manoeuvre by Neil Mackenzie as he went up the inside of McPherson into the S's there. Just as I said, he pushed the rider out of the way, not really deliberately, but McPherson didn't fight back, and now Mackenzie's gained another place, and doesn't he make it look easy?
Jim Moody, the number 21, 5 times Isle of Man TT winner. The man in second place, 11 times an Isle of Man TT winner, hence the number 11 on his bike. Steve Hislop, there he is. Mackenzie, number 1, now 36 years of age. The reigning champion lives just up the road now from the circuit, has moved from his native Scotland to a small village, Ravenston, not far from this Mallory Park circuit, based now in the centre of the country. Neil Mackenzie, for better access all round for his UK racing job, I suppose you could call it, and it is a job, very much a job, Roger.
Absolutely, these guys are professionals and they're athletes as well. It takes an awful lot of physical effort to ride these 150, 160 horsepower machines around at the speeds they do. Look at Mackenzie now trying to get on the inside of Hislop. That's 120 miles an hour, the entry point to that corner, Gerrard's Bend. It's probably the longest corner on any circuit in the UK. And the exit point which we're coming to now is probably 135 miles an hour before they snick top gear, and Mackenzie now has the inside line on Hislop. Surely he's through, yes.
It's a very determined Steve Hislop we're riding with now. That's Mackenzie ahead, the second place man. Sean Emmett, number 5 on the Ducati, is away in the lead, just going round the hairpin. Look at Hislop, he is right on the back wheel of Neil Mackenzie, but the Yamaha, I think you'll find when we come out of the devil's elbow and he gets the power on now on this left-hander, the Yamaha will go away on superior power and speed down the straight. Hislop, though, is hanging on grimly, and this is where he's good. This right-hander that Roger Burnett said probably one of the longest in the country, it's all the way round. It's tearing the right-hand side of the tyre to shreds, and Hislop is quick round here.
He's very quick, but McPherson's quicker. McPherson sneaked up the inside of Hislop there. A very brave manoeuvre from his fellow Scotsman. Now down 2 gears into the S's. Goes right and then left, very carefully squeezing the power on before getting hard on the brakes and right down the gearbox to first gear for the hairpin. Hislop nearly running into the back of McPherson there, back up to second. This is the bus stop chicane. It was put in designed to slow the riders down before they came round this quick left-hand devil's elbow, as it's called, onto the start and finish straight. But look at Moody, Rutter and Walker. They're not being shaken off.
A rundown on the positions then. The man you're looking at now, number 13, is in third place. Behind him, Steve Hislop, number 11, in fourth. Then it's Jim Moody in fifth. Then Michael Rutter, number 4. There's Michael Rutter, number 4, Chris Walker, number 2, and Ray Stringer, leading the Privateers Cup, is really with these factory boys and going well. And I think it's opportune to say that Ray Stringer's team collected the best turned out team award at Oulton Park. Any one of these factory teams could have collected it, but it was the Privateer camp of Ray Stringer's team who collected that award. Will they get it this week? I don't know. It looks to me as though Hislop is going to get a medal at the end of the day. He's doing a terrific job on what I guess is an unfamiliar bike. He's been riding a Ducati all season, And here he is now on a 4-cylinder Kawasaki. There's race stringer number 7, the privateer's leader, leading the championship by a vast amount of points, doing a similar job to that being done by Mackenzie in the championship proper. The race leader, Sean Emmett, number 5, the pole position man. He was in supremely confident mood before the race, quite justifiably so. He is maintaining that 5 or 6 machine lengths lead over the championship leader, and McPherson, number 13, is still there, very much in touch. In 3rd place, McPherson away through the chicane, Hislop right behind him, then it's Moody, then it's Michael Rutter. There is Jim Moody, suffering with a right elbow. They don't know whether it's tennis elbow or previous injury. The privateers race, 77, Brett Sampson. Graham Ward, oh, Sampson, oh, and Andy Ward, number 57, collected him. Fortunately, Roger, a slow part of the circuit, no injury.
Well, it looked like Sampson's bike lifted the back wheel as he leant it over. Of course, these bikes are getting over at tremendous angles, and we're going to look at a replay of it now. Number 77, Sampson, leans into the hairpin, a little bit of judder on the front end. Watch the back wheel. Yes, the back wheel comes up. I think he must have leant it over, and the silencer or whatever dug in the road and jacked the back wheel off the road, and of course, there's no grip.
Fortunately, not too much damage to the bikes and no injury to the riders. As I said, that is the slower part of the course. Not so with the bit we're watching now, though. We are watching 2 very fast men at work. Sean Emmett, number 5, doing his utmost to keep the championship leader at bay at the hairpin. Let's see how the Yamaha fares against the Ducati out of the left-hander of the Devil's Elbow. We're at it now. There is a back marker ahead of the race leader, and that tail ender could well cause a problem. Through they go. He moves over, gets out of the way. Emmett sweeps through, Mackenzie going with him. Mackenzie up to his old tricks again, just stalking the race leader, looking for the opportunity, looking for a mistake. But I don't think that Sean Emmett is going to make a mistake. It just really depends on whether the Yamaha is quicker. And the Yamaha seems to be quicker. Through he goes. The same overtaking place. He does it every lap on the approach to the S's.
Well, the S is a very key place on this circuit at Mallory Park, because after it's this slow part of the circuit, the hairpin, then the bus stop chicane, and if you can get ahead at the S's, then there's very little chance of anybody passing you before the finish line, which is round this corner, the Devil's Elbow. So Mackenzie has arguably got himself positioned on the fastest part of the circuit, round Gerrard's and into the S's, ahead of the other guys. But Sean Emmett won't give up, and McPherson's coming back at Sean Emmett now. I have to say that Sean Emmett's ridden a perfect race so far. If he can go after Mackenzie now and keep with him till the end, we've got a great battle for the win.
I think Sean Emmett, I agree with you, has ridden a perfect race. Colin Seeley, his boss, was ecstatic after the qualifying, and as I say, they were so confident. He really felt, I really felt. Oh, and there's a flag out now, a blue flag indicating that the tailenders have to get out of the way to make way for the race leaders. Number 24 moving out of the way there, and that's Paul Jones moving over, making a clear track space for the fast men as they go through. Jones just going through. Rutter, Chris Walker, number 2, Ray Stringer doing an admirable job in the Privateers Cup, hanging on to these factory-supported bikes. There's Stringer going through, and they are leaving the rest of the field in their dust. Part of that field including the number 22, Ian Simpson, and he is John Reynolds' teammate on the Ducati. We're looking back now from Chris Walker, and you can see just how fast the Yamaha is. Walker, number 2, going past Michael Rutter. He's on the inside, the back wheel all locked up. There is the Honda of Michael Rutter, and he's been polished off, I think is fair to say, by Chris Walker, who is now charging on despite crashing very heavily yesterday. The day before the race, he fell off once at Gerrard's and once into the S's, and he's a little bit battered, a bit second-hand. How much, Roger, would that affect the riders psychologically?
Well, it has to have an effect. I mean, going down the road a couple of times at over 100 miles an hour in the same weekend has to affect Chris Walker, but he's so talented and so brave in many ways that he's fought on. Many riders wouldn't be out there today, but he is. Now it's back with the leader there, and you saw Neil Mackenzie. He's been closed upon by Sean Emmett, and those 2 Kawasaki's of Steve Hislop and Ian McPherson now as we go up to the hairpin. It's a very difficult place for the riders because they're having to take the strain of stopping themselves shooting over the top of the bike as they brake from about 120 miles an hour down to probably 10 or 15 miles an hour, and then flicking it right and left through the bus stop chicane here, easing the power on, trying to stop the back end from stepping out. And there you see Hislop shooting through the start and finish. And look at the rev counter now, over to 15,000 RPM before going down one gear and entering Gerrard's Bend. Hislop running a little bit wide. Ian McPherson ahead of him. You'll feel Hislop trying to, let's be with him, trying to squeeze the power on as he's trying to exit and get more of a drive on Ian McPherson. McPherson looks round and Steve Hislop's nearly on the back of him there.
14,000 revs, that's almost unbelievable. You'd think the thing would blow apart. Hislop, look, a contemptuous glance over the right shoulder to see where the opposition is. He's in 4th place, the opposition is in the shape of Jim Moody. This is Hislop running very wide. That cost him valuable fractions of a second. McPherson is ahead of him. The two Kawasaki teammates are locked together in 3rd and 4th. Ahead of them, Sean Emmett. Leading the race, Neil Mackenzie, and Mackenzie with the number 26 ahead of him, and that's Colin Hipwell, the orange bike, giving Mackenzie a bit of grief, I have to say, despite the blue flag. Mackenzie having to go the long way round Hipwell, a little way from Hipwell's hand, and now he's going to give the others some grief as well.
Well, that definitely cost Neil Mackenzie some time. Sean Emmett looked, as we saw the view of that picture, that he got up the inside, and certainly he did. And now it's McPherson and Hislop's turn to do a number on Hipwell as they go down to the hairpin, and they're safely through, as we can see from Steve Hislop's on-bike camera. Nearly caught the back of McPherson there. That certainly cost Neil Mackenzie time. Can the others get close enough to beat him?
Hislop goes in very, very deep on the brakes. He leaves his braking extremely late. Nearly clipped the back end of his teammate then. That wouldn't be a good idea for both of the Kawasaki's to end spinning their race out on the tarmac, but Hislop's still in 4th. He's got a point to prove, as I said at the start of this race. He very much wants to secure a permanent ride, if not in the Kawasaki team, with some other team for the rest of the 1997 season. And look at him now. Hislop closing. There is Sean Emmett. Sean Emmett dropping back a little bit. Could be that he's running into tyre problems. An anxious look over the shoulder from Sean Emmett because he knows he's being swarmed over. Oh dear me, he's right between the two Kawasaki's, and McPherson is through. McPherson up to 2nd, Emmett down to 3rd, and Hislop, the next man, I think, to nibble away at the back end of the Ducati. It looks to me, Roger, as though Sean Emmett definitely has a problem.
Well, they've just gone through the start and finish to start their last lap, and Emmett sweeps across the front of Hislop there. If there is a problem with Emmett at all, I would have to say it's probably a tyre selection problem. The other 3 riders that are in this battle for the lead are running on Dunlop tyres, and Sean Emmett is on a Michelin tyre.
Hislop, just as Emmett goes very, very quickly in on the brakes, he reclaims that 2nd place at the Lake S's from McPherson. He's not giving up. The Ducati man is going to keep the pressure on. He's now got to pick his line very carefully here. He's got McPherson up the inside, and he lost out because round the long way went Steve Hislop, who's now in 3rd. It's a Kawasaki 2-3. Out in front, it's a Yamaha with Mackenzie on board. Emmett, having led the race for the better part of it, is now in 4th and will miss out on a rostrum, and over the line they go. Mackenzie gets the win, McPherson 2nd, Hislop is on the rostrum, and that's a terrific result for him, but what a disappointment for Sean Emmett. Jim Moody did well. Chris Walker there despite the injuries. Ray Stringer and Michael Rutter. Stringer ahead of Rutter.
Steve, your debut ride this year on a Kawasaki, you've got to be pleased with that.
Oh, it was good. You know, I was really praying for a rostrum finish, and I was struggling a little bit for getting into the rhythm, but I left it to near the end, and I went past Ian and Sean into the hairpin on the long way, which Ian just got the drive out, so I thought I could have got 2nd, but it's good.
I quite enjoyed it. The bike was going really well. Kawasaki was going well. My mechanics set it up. The suspension was just a bit spot on, you know.
Did you know Steve that was really close behind you?
I had a look coming down the back straight just before the S's, and I thought I better get my finger out here, try a bit harder. So I thought if I could get by Emmett with 2 laps to go, then at least I'd be on the podium. So it worked out really well.
Must have been the ride of your life, that.
Ah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Worked out well. Just put the wheels a bit quick, but it's another race to go.
Neil Mackenzie, that's a terrific ride for him again. There seems to be nothing the others can do to stop him. As Roger Burnett said, they have an utmost respect for him, and I'm not surprised. Look at the standing, 65 points clear from Chris Walker. Round 14, same distance, 23 laps. Grid lineup, the same. Pole position man Sean Emmett, a better start this time by Neil Mackenzie. on the right-hand side of your picture. No, but it's Chris Walker swooping across. Jim Moody, number 21, getting the whole shot at Gerrard's. First time then in the lead for the Suzuki man. Who's gone with him? Is it Sean Emmett? It's Moody leading. Yes, it is Sean Emmett. Then it's Mackenzie. Then it's Chris Walker. Then it's Steve Hislop on the Kawasaki. And then McPherson now a little bit further down. Jim Moody having ridden so well in round 13 on the Suzuki, leading this one at the Lake Essex. For many years we've seen Moody's ability here at Mallory Park, but he's not good enough this time into the hairpin because Sean Emmett grabs an early lead, not wanting to make a mistake. He desperately needs the win. He was cheated off the rostrum last time. Well, he will say he was cheated, but he was beaten into fourth place by three very determined men. This time, though, Emmett leading. Moody giving second best to Neil Mackenzie, who's running much, much better this time. All the experience. Riding now with Hislop on the back of Chris Walker. The number 2 Yamaha. We're with Steve Hislop, Roger, and he's in close company again.
Well, this is 140-mile-an-hour action, and Walker is going into the S's. This is the point at which he fell off during qualifying, hit the barrier, bounced back up, and ran back to the paddock to get his spare bike. But look at Mackenzie. Mackenzie got a fantastic start and has now taken the lead from Sean Emmett. So we've got a repetition of race 1.
Mackenzie then out in front in the early stages. Moody hanging on to a brilliant third place. He's getting better and better, Jim Moody. There's a lot more to come from the Suzuki. There's a lot more to come from the number 21 rider, Jim Moody. They're all bunched up. Hislop is there. Chris Walker is there. Chris Walker, who is in open admiration of his teammate Neil Mackenzie. There's Hislop looking forward from Hislop now, and that's Jim Moody on the Suzuki ahead of us. How quick is the Kawasaki? Out of the slipstream of the Suzuki, side by side, and up the inside goes Steve Hislop, and right ahead of Hislop is Sean Emmett. Into third place then, Steve Hislop wants to go one better this time. He was third last time out. I think he really feels even a win could be on here. Hislop, the man from Hoyk, who now lives in Oulton in the Isle of Man. There's his teammate, McPherson, number 13. There's Chris Walker, number 2 on the Yamaha. Hislop has got his head down. He means business. He's right in the wheel tracks of Sean Emmett. He'll try this customary dive up the inside at Gerrard's. Smoke! Smoke from the Ducati. A puff of smoke from Sean Emmett's bike. That was no exhaust smoke. That looked like oil problems, Roger.
Well, Sean Emmett's got to be careful now because it definitely did look like smoke from his bike and oil problems. You can see a puff of smoke there as Hislop goes up the inside of Emmett into the S's. Now, Sean's got to be careful because if he squirts the power on, he could easily lose the back end, and a foot came off the footrest there. Barry, that indicates to me that there's oil on the back of that motorcycle.
There's a blue haze coming from the back, and Sean Emmett knows. He looked down, he knows he's got a problem. There's a blue haze coming from the back of that Ducati. It looks terminal. Oh, Hislop is even skating all over the place, but Emmett is still hanging on grimly to third, and he's got a good advantage over the 4th, 5th and 6th place man. In 4th, it's Jim Moody, 21. 5th, it's number 2, Chris Walker. Then it's number 13, McPherson, the man with an IQ of 157. He's so bright, he's going to have a go at Chris Walker. We're riding with Walker now. McPherson knows 1 place forward is a few more points, not to mention the money that goes with it. There's McPherson. Number 4, Michael Rutter with him. This man 5th in the world Thunderbike. Oh, dear me, Sean Emmett in 3rd place, almost stepped off the Ducati. Enough is enough, said Emmett, as he smokes to a halt. That promotes everybody. Matt Llewellyn also, I think, has had a bit of an incident there, possibly on the oil. Looking back now from Chris Walker, going past Jim Moody like a rocket ship.
Well, that's 120 miles an hour, the overtaking manoeuvre there. And you can see Jim Moody's knee touching the road. That's so that he can gauge how far he's got the bike leant over, indeed controls the bike off his knee, in effect it acts as a stabiliser as Walker flicks himself out of the seat there. Is Moody coming out of the slipstream and having a go at Chris Walker? The answer is no. Chris Walker holds the place.
Jim Moody will have seen that slip by Chris Walker. The back tyre let go for a fraction of a second. That's all it needs. Moody's up the inside. He's good here on the brakes. Rutter, though, going the long way round. Michael Rutter, if he can get the power on the Honda, is going to grab that place from the Suzuki man, and he does. Ian McPherson, number 13, going with them. He'll be the next man to attack Jim Moody's Suzuki, and McPherson now in the slipstream. Sean Emmett, a very disconsolate Sean Emmett walking back the long way round because the Ducati expired. Number 69, Steve Moody, a tail ender there being pushed back. There's Ray Stringer charging on now, leading the Privateers Cup by a mile. What a brilliant performance here. The man of Mallory, but Stringer, of course, lives very close to the circuit. He knows it well. McPherson ahead of him, number 2, Walker, and there, Michael Rutter. These three having a race all of their own. Oh dear me, that's McPherson. There must be some oil still on the tarmac. Happily for Ian McPherson, he gets up and walks away. That could easily have been very nasty indeed.
A very difficult crash to explain that, because not really applying the power hard. Very lucky that the bike didn't hurt Ian McPherson as he fell over the front of it, but not too high speed, 50 or 60 miles an hour that. But look, he puts his hands up, he can't understand what's happened. Must be oil.
A quick change in direction makes the rear wheel go, and there's another faller there. That's Graham Ward. Graham Ward hit the ground fairly heavily. Marshals will do the right thing to leave him there, I reckon, until they... And there we have a stoppage. Due to Ward's incident, the race having been run more than half distance, we have a result. Mackenzie then, clear winner from Hislop Walker, Michael Rutter in 4th. A great fight in the lower order between Moody and Ray Stringer. Hislop split the Yamaha boys, but Chris Walker's on the rostrum.
Chris, a brilliant ride. You had 2 major tumbles in practice. Must have been difficult to overcome.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I've been struggling a little bit this morning just for confidence thing, really. You know, yesterday I fell off twice and I didn't really do anything wrong, just pushing on a bit hard, and ended up in the gravel around Gerrard's, you know, in 5th gear, and then jumped off in 4th gear around the S's and, you know, stopped so fast into the tyres. It was unbelievable. I was glad to be racing today, to be honest. But first race, just a confidence builder, really. 6th, I wanted to finish, get some points and stay on it for more than 10 minutes. And then the second race I was going for it and I wanted to be on the rostrum no matter what, so brilliant, really happy.
Neil, what happened at the start? You got a good one.
Yeah, it threw me a bit, actually. It was a bit weird being up there at the start, and I thought, it's going to be a long race at the front here, but Steve Hislop kept the pressure on behind me, and I was watching my pit board and gradually pulling away a little bit each lap, so that kept my concentration.
You've got a good points lead now. You'll be looking forward to... You could probably take a weekend off.
It'd be nice to have a weekend off, but until it's in the bag, nothing's certain. So looking forward to going to Knockhill to the next one now and putting on a show in front of the home fans.
74 points the gap now, and Mackenzie could almost take a weekend off. But with 8 races still to run, it's not over yet. Jim Moody passes Terry Reimer, but it's very close for those lower placings. A 101-point lead, that'll do nicely for Ray Stringer, with Brett Sampson, despite crashing, still in 2nd in the Privateers Cup. Hislop's results move Kawasaki closer to Ducati in the Manufacturers' Championship, but Yamaha are still the clear leaders.
You've won the last 6 races on the trot. Are you looking to win 2 today?
I'd like to win 2 races at Knockhill. I'd really like to win these 2, and then definitely after that I want to think about winning the championship, but there's going to be maybe 15,000-20,000 people here today, and a lot of them want me to win, so I'd like them to go home happy tonight.
Mackenzie's made a pretty good start. He's in pole position. Chris Walker alongside him. Look at Steve Hislop. That's a record. A privateer Kawasaki on the front row. Ian McPherson on the second of the factory Kawasaki's. Llewellyn, Moody, Michael Rutter on the Honda. Row 3. Sean Emmett. He's another race winner in this series. Ray Stringer, Simpson, and David Jeffries out for the first time in 1997. And that is row 4. 24 laps of this 1.3-mile Knockhill circuit in glorious weather. Look at the sunshine. The lights will go to green, top right of your screen, and away they go. Mackenzie, that looked to be a good start from Mackenzie on the right-hand side. McPherson, but it's Steve Hislop, number 11, on the privateer Kawasaki. Hits the front at Duffer Stip. Hislop, Llewellyn, as an almighty. Three of them down. One of them's Moody. And the Mackenzie's in the middle. Neil Mackenzie's come down. That's Sean Emmett. Oh dear, 3 of the leading championship contenders wiped out within 10 seconds from the green light. Now, will the race be stopped? I don't know. There are no flags. I can't see any flags. All of the riders on their feet. All Mackenzie hobbling away. The race goes on. It's Hislop in front. 13, McPherson goes with him. Terry Reimer is also there. This has been... Oh dear, Steve Hislop almost had his front end taken away. Roger, that was a brave move.
McPherson was very aggressive there, I have to say, as we look back now at Neil Mackenzie, and this is interesting because he's limping very badly indeed. As we look at the replay, it looks like Moody hits the curb on the inside of the track, takes down Mackenzie, Emmett has nowhere to go, and I'm afraid that's a consequence of this very tight and twisty circuit here in Scotland.
Is that an indication of what lies ahead of us for the rest of the day? Because this race has hardly begun, and we have 3 fallers. It's left the way clear, though, for the rest of the championship field to make some inroads into Mackenzie's massive points lead. Number 3, Terry Reimer. Number 2, Chris Walker. Reimer now senses there's an opportunity here to make hay, because he will now know, as a result of his pit board, that Mackenzie is out. Chris Walker, similarly, number 2, will know that his teammate is out. Ian McPherson leads Steve Hislop. Kawasaki first, Kawasaki second, Yamaha third, and Terry Reimer is tucked in there behind. Oh, Terry Reimer's dropping back a bit. Steve Hislop, who was on one of the green bikes at Mallory Park, courtesy of Colin Wright, the team boss, is now in the privateer Sabre Airways team run by Ray Stringer, and it's a tribute to Ray Stringer as to the speed that engine, Roger, delivers.
It's a very brave move from Steve Hislop. He rode a factory bike at Mallory Park and had a second and a third. Now he's on a privateer bike, but making a fantastic job of it, as we see McPherson getting all locked up and sideways there into the hairpin. We're going to see some great pictures, I think, from the hairpin of the bikes out of shape as they go in. It's a very demanding circuit here at Knockhill, 1.3 miles around. Very, very twisty, very physically hard indeed, as McPherson goes round the first corner there into Duffy's Dip.
The number 13 bike, the race leader, Ian McPherson, 26 years of age. This his first season in British Superbike, 5th in the world at the 600cc class in 1996. And this man has gone from strength to strength. He's got better and better, and certainly looks to me as though he is securing his place in the Kawasaki team for 1998. Equally, number 11, the man you're looking at now, Steve Hislop, has a point to prove. He, in the twilight of his career, will want a good ride for 1998. Will it be on Kawasaki? Will it be on Ducati? Hislop certainly means to prove that he can run with the best of them. Chris Walker has gone wide and lost several places, so the other Yamaha now out of the running. We have a Suzuki in third, number 20, Matt Llewellyn, up to third, and with him has gone the number 4 Honda of Michael Rutter, illustrating, Roger, yet again, just how competitive and how closely matched these bikes are.
I think the British Superbike Championship is a very high standard indeed, and it's great to see different makes of manufacture all fighting out there at the front, and different riders at the front, I've got to say as well. McPherson, Hislop, Llewellyn there, and now Michael Rutter on the Honda. Terry Reimer's having not such a good day on bike number 3, but then he had 2 horrific crashes during qualifying, and he's riding with a very, very severely gashed left elbow.
Number 2, Chris Walker in 7th place. Ahead of him, the number 22 Ducati of Ian Simpson, who is the only Ducati rider. John Reynolds, one of the early championship contenders, crashed heavily at Mallory. He's a spectator here today with an injured shoulder. So poor Ian Simpson, albeit on home ground, is having to carry all of the responsibility of the Ducati factory squad out there, and he's running in 6th. Matt Llewellyn doing a great job right on the rear wheel now of number 11, Steve Hislop. Matt Llewellyn on the Suzuki, which is ideally suited to this tight, twisty Knockhill circuit. The Suzuki, a very nimble bike. If it lacks anything, it lacks punch out of the turns, and that's a problem, Roger, which has plagued them all season.
Well, it will particularly show up here at Knockhill, out of this corner that we're coming up to now, because this is the slowest corner, the hairpin. First gear, have to accelerate out of there in first gear, and there's Reimer getting passed again by Chris Walker. Chris Walker carving his way back through the field after that running wide exercise there down at the hairpin. Chris Walker on bike 2 we're talking about, and there is Ian Simpson, who you were talking about earlier, Barry, with Chris Walker and Terry Reimer behind him.
Reimer obviously feeling the effects of that crash because he's slipping backwards through the field. The young Lions, and Chris Walker's one of the number 2, now charging past. A very demonstrative, aggressive style of riding from Chris Walker. He knows that he's the only Yamaha man out there, and he's desperate to score points. Having a good look at Ian Simpson, who's gaining confidence on the Ducati, but having said that, there was a big twitch there which unsettled Simpson, and on Railway Bend, the sweeping left-hander up to the hairpin. Chris Walker takes 1 more place. Walker then up to 5th. Ahead of Walker, it's Michael Rutter. Then it's Matt Llewellyn on the Suzuki. Then it's number 11, Steve Hislop. And there's a race leader, number 13, Ian McPherson, who is on the crest of a wave here in front of his home crowd. And if you think about the Scots contingent here, we've a Scotsman in first and second place, and the man from Leicestershire, from Glenfield, number 20, Matt Llewellyn, former international Superbike champion in 1995 of that particular 3-round series. He's now charging hard in third. He senses that maybe his factory Suzuki should, if it doesn't, it certainly should have the edge over the privateer Kawasaki of number 11, Steve Hislop, and is desperate to put the Suzuki between the two Kawasaki's, and Llewellyn is looking very hard indeed. Conscious too, I think, Roger, that Michael Rutter on what is an extremely quick Honda is right there with him.
Michael Rutter's doing an exceptionally good job on bike 4 in 4th place. Look at the front wheel coming up there as he comes over through the start and finish down towards Duffy's Dip. But I have to say that watch the suspension work on these bikes. It's a very bumpy circuit, and the Honda is arguably probably the most difficult bike to set up. So Michael Rutter's doing a great job to stay in contention for the race win at this stage, but there's still a long way to go. And what's interesting is after the riders have gone round this corner, this 90 miles an hour third gear Clark curve, then down the long straight to the hairpin, it's interesting to watch the difference in the lines that they take. Hislop takes a particularly tight line, whereas McPherson turns in late and cuts the corner, but has a better exit speed. There we see Hislop go up the inside of McPherson, and that lap, McPherson wasn't able to get him back. So has Hislop now sussed out how to beat McPherson?
Well, what's interesting as well, these four are really racing, and it's obvious why they're racing so hard, because championship leader Neil Mackenzie is sidelined. John Reynolds is not competing. There is a real opportunity here for all of these four men to make hay while the sun shines in more ways than one. Coming here to Knockhill, number 11, Steve Hislop, the race leader, was 11th in the championship. Number 13, Ian McPherson, is 8th in the championship. Number 20, Matt Llewellyn, is 9th in the championship. But more significantly, number 4, Michael Rutter, is 4th in the title chase on 143 points and has a real chance of going past Reynolds, who's not riding today, in the points standings. So Rutter obviously going to go as Llewellyn is down in the dirt, and Hislop loses the lead to Ian McPherson. There was a lot of drama on that turn. I'm not sure they were connected, but certainly Matt Llewellyn's race is over. He dumped it down in the gravel. He ran out of brakes or something. He just ran wide, was in the gravel trap, and simultaneously the lead changed. Ian McPherson now leads Steve Hislop. Hislop with the yellow number 11 board, which indicates not only is he running very well, he's also the leading privateer. So having led the race on a privateer machine, now in second Steve Hislop, new race leader Ian McPherson with the back end Roger wobbling. But what a brilliant display from these two Scotsmen.
Well, McPherson has to be the find of the championship for me. He came from the 600cc class last year to ride a 750 in this his first season, and he's doing an excellent job. But with Matt Llewellyn out, it's handed Michael Rutter a good third place.
Yeah, real disappointed. Got an excellent start, made some ground up on the early laps, got up to third, felt really comfortable where I was, and then just got like pump up in my forearm. Struggling to feel like the throttle and the brake, especially going to the hairpin and at the end of the straight. It's the first time I've ever had it in my career. Unfortunately, I got hit by a bit of metal on my arm yesterday, so whether that's done any damage or what, I don't know. But I lost all the feel and just ran wide and went on the grass at the hairpin. Real disappointing.
Well, the pumping up there that Matt Llewellyn was referring to is that these motorcycles are so fast and so heavy that you need to develop the muscles in your forearm to such an extent that the muscle becomes too big for the muscle envelope and causes blood flow problems, hence the numbness that Matt Llewellyn experienced.
So technically you can overtrain. Now, I'm not quite sure how much training is needed, but certainly these are supermen. They have to be nothing less than a superman to wrestle these hugely powerful 4-cylinder, 6-speed, 750cc machines round here at speeds on some circuits up to 170 miles an hour. Hislop, he is no stranger to this. He's no stranger to long races. 11 times an Isle of Man TT winner, Steve Hislop. 11th in the championship, 11 on the front of his bike. but the most significant thing, it's a privateer machine, giving all of the factory bikes, with one exception, number 13, the man heading him, a great deal to think about as they drive home from the Knockhill circuit. Hislop in second, Michael Rutter on the Honda, very much in third. That's a tail ender you got a brief glimpse of there. We'll be looking for Michael Rutter to go through. On the last lap, 1.3 miles remaining now. Ian McPherson leads. Now he's going to have to be very, very cagey all the way round here because he's got a wily motorcycle racer behind him. Steve Hislop is exceptional coming out of the last bend, and I suspect that Ian McPherson more than suspects that he's capable of going past him. So he's going to have to ride a very, very tight line. Down to the right-hander, Clark, sweeping round Clark now, up towards the left-hand climb, the gradual left-hand bend of railway curve. It's a sprint up towards the hairpin. Which side is Hislop going to go? Will it be right? Will it be left? He's going to go the long way round because McPherson has kept the door closed. Has the privateer Kawasaki got the drive? He's gone wide. He's in the slipstream. A sprint to the line. Hislop shook his head. He shook his head. He knew that second was the best he could do. Over the line goes McPherson. A sensational victory, and Hislop knows he was beaten fairly and squarely, but he cannot be disappointed with second. Look at that. First to congratulate McPherson, Steve Hislop. He's got to be thrilled with that. Ian McPherson's and Kawasaki's maiden victory in the 97 season. Hislop, Rutter and Chris Walker recovered to fourth place. Terry Reimer limped home in fifth. Adequate support to his teammate McPherson.
Ian, your first win of the series, fantastic.
Oh, it's great. I thought it would be better if I could stay at the front, you know, and I could dictate the pace because we've got 2 races to go, and it's a hard circuit to keep up fast laps.
Did you know Steve Hislop was so close behind you?
I kept seeing +0 on my pit board, so I knew there was someone there. I didn't know who it was, but there's no way they were getting by in the last lap.
Top four in the privateers. Ray Stringer, not accustomed to being pushed down to third. David Jeffries, first time out in 1997. Hislop, never mind the privateers, he nearly won the race.
It was nearly a win there, but Ian had his position covered there. I was hoping to go up the inside of him at the last lap, but he knew what the score was, I think. I nearly got round the outside, but I just couldn't get traction to get out of the corner. But it's still good. I'm pleased to be second. Unbelievable.
Mackenzie Walker, Rutter just 6 points behind John Reynolds. He can be third at the end of the day if all goes well. McPherson moves past Reimer. Moody crashed, Emmett crashed, and so did Mackenzie.
First corner, I got in there probably in the first half dozen, and Jim Moody came underneath me. He was a bit tight, and all I saw was he turned in with not a lot of room, hit the curb and knocked himself off, and I had nowhere to go. I hit him and down I went. I do try and stay out of trouble in the opening laps, and it didn't happen today, but that's racing.
What are the extent of your injuries?
Well, it feels like my foot's broken, but the doctor's examined it and he said without an x-ray he's not 100% sure, but he feels like it might not be broken. He says it's probably been run over. So maybe try and get a big boot on it and see if I can do something in the next race.
Just like that, it feels as though it's been run over. I'm going to put a big boot on it. That's exactly what Neil Mackenzie has done for race 2 as they line up. Looking very focused indeed, and obviously uncomfortable, but he's on pole position. Chris Walker, his teammate, knowing full well that he has a chance here to maybe close, and Steve Hislop again on the front row, second in race 1. Can he go one better? Who knows? The expression says it all. Reimer there in the middle, Hislop, Walker, Mackenzie on pole. Row 2, McPherson, Llewellyn, Moody and Rutter. Jim Moody now fit and well. Michael Rutter hoping to improve and move into third in the championship. Emmett Stringer, Simpson and David Jeffries. It's been a good day for Jeffries. The lights go to green, away they go again, and hopefully they'll all get round safely this time. A good start by Chris Walker. Mackenzie's in the middle. Reimer's got away as well. So's Hislop almost hit Neil Mackenzie. That was close. He bounced off the curb, and it was almost a carbon copy action replay for Neil Mackenzie. Fortunately, he's still upright, as indeed is Steve Hislop. Kawasaki second, Kawasaki third, Yamaha in the lead, Honda fourth, Michael Rutter. Andy Ward, 57, had a cracking start that time as well. Neil Mackenzie, the reigning champion, on the back end now of Michael Rutter, knows full well that after this round there are 150 points up for grabs, so he's got to give it his best shot. He can't relax, he can't sit back yet. He has no intention of sitting back. Rutter having a look at the inside of Terry Reimer, who goes wide, as indeed Mackenzie goes through. On board with Mackenzie, there is Terry Reimer. A wheelie from the Kawasaki ace over the start-finish line. Mackenzie now in hot pursuit of Michael Rutter.
Well, Mackenzie's obviously hurting. It's his right foot which operates the rear brake on his motorcycle. He hasn't got to do the gear changes, that's his left foot. So arguably he will be in pain, but it won't be as bad as if the injury had been caused to his left foot. It will only make it difficult for him to turn the bike around right-hand bends.
Up to fourth place, Neil Mackenzie. Ahead of him, Michael Rutter, number 4. Ian Simpson, number 22, briefly in your picture there. Another place. Up to third goes Neil Mackenzie. Sweeps past the Honda rider. Michael Rutter now relegated to fourth. Mackenzie in third. The Honda viciously wiggling as they come up to the hairpin. Where's Michael Rutter going to be? Is he going to sneak up the inside? He takes a look. Mackenzie riding brilliantly well now. Obviously in some pain, obviously in discomfort. His teammate Chris Walker leading the race by a country mile. There he goes. The rest of the field all stringing round. Another place for Neil Mackenzie. It's a Yamaha 1-2. But Ian McPherson, number 13, will not let it rest, I'm sure. He's going to try extremely hard. Having tasted victory already today, he'd love a double win in front of his home crowd in his debut season in the 1997 Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship. The Yamaha, though, Roger, seems noticeably quicker.
Well, Mackenzie's got the measure of this circuit. Let's not forget it's his home track. He grew up here. This is where he did all of his club racing. He's got the home crowd behind him. The adrenaline's flowing, and Mackenzie wants to win.
What is also significant is that Neil Mackenzie is the outright lap record holder here, albeit on a 500cc GP bike. He's been round in 50.3 seconds. The Superbike record here held by his ex-teammate James Whittam at 51.68. So a second quicker Mackenzie's been round here on a GP bike, so the circuit will hold no fear for him. It doesn't look as though it holds any fear for Michael Rutter, who is now building in confidence, building in speed and throwing the Honda right and left. And Roger, the Honda not the best handling bike in the world.
It's a very sensitive bike and very difficult to set up. It actually prefers smooth tracks, and Knockhill, as you can see, isn't a smooth track. You can see the suspension working. Watch the wheels very closely, and as they go down to the hairpin and put the brakes on, the back end of the bike twitches from side to side. But Michael Rutter's doing a very, very good job. But that man there on bike number 3, Terry Reimer, injured. Barry, his body language to me tells me that he's not happy.
Well, he's got Steve Hislop breathing down his neck. Number 11, Steve Hislop, determined to nail another place if he can. Rutter's trying hard now with McPherson. Matt Llewellyn having a much, much better ride this time. Apparently the forearm problems that plagued him in the first race appear to have gone away. He's certainly driving hard on the Suzuki, holding on to it very well, and is just waiting there, shadowing Michael Rutter, and every opportunity that presents itself, Llewellyn will grab. Kawasaki 13, McPherson, then it's Rutter, then it's Llewellyn, then it's Terry Reimer, number 3, and right with Terry Reimer, Steve Hislop, runner-up in race 1, determined to go one better in this particular race if he can. He's on the inside of Terry Reimer, he's out-braking him with the rear wheel of the Kawasaki locked up. Through goes Steve Hislop, back one more place goes Terry Reimer, obviously in discomfort, but he side through. Such was the out-braking speed of Hislop, he left the door open on the exit. Mackenzie now going for the lead, hopefully about to pass, in his opinion, hopefully, teammate Chris Walker, who started the season in such determined style, but Mackenzie has just got better and better, and Chris Walker, if anything now, Roger, is slightly in Mackenzie's shadow.
Absolutely, but I think Chris Walker deserves praise. I think he's doing a great job in this race. Let's not forget he made a mistake in the first race today, went wide at the hairpin. Arguably, he would have been in contention for the win in that race. I think he's doing a brilliant job.
Mackenzie is setting Walker up beautifully. Mackenzie's on the inside line. Chris Walker, is he going to run wide again? But he's let him through. Well, let's say let him through in the nicest sense. Looking back now from the race leader, his teammate with him. These two Yamaha men now, wheel for wheel, as they go down towards Duffer Stip. Oh, under the bridge, about 145 miles an hour there as they went under the bridge. Into Duffer Stip, flicking it now down through the left-hander, right-hander of McIntyre's. McIntyre's were with Mackenzie, Walker's right with him. The chicane is ahead of them, flicking through the chicane, right, left at the chicane, Mackenzie, squirting along the back of the circuit, up to 5th gear here now for Clark Curve. Rounding Clark in 3rd, down to 3rd for this bend. and then the long pull up the sweeping left-hander of Railway Turn towards the hairpin. Mackenzie, injured right foot or not, is leading the race. 25 points then he will add to his tally. It looked as though he'd go away from Knockhill with a 0. Matt Llewellyn has gone past Michael Rutter. Rutter back down 1 place. Llewellyn now on a charge. Ahead of him, Ian McPherson. So Matt Llewellyn up to 4th place, and Michael Rutter's gone with him. That's the race leader. This is a sensational ride by the Suzuki man, but again another good one by Ian McPherson.
Well, Matt Llewellyn fell off in the first race, don't forget. He'll be wanting to make amends for that. He was very disappointed. The Suzuki's been working exceptionally well round the Knockhill track, and I for one know that Matt Llewellyn is a very capable rider indeed. Oh, exit in the chicane there. Matt Llewellyn squeezes the power on, almost has the back end step out on the Suzuki for Michael Rutter to take advantage. Now, will that have knocked Matt Llewellyn's confidence and allow Rutter to take that place back?
What it will have done certainly is let Michael Rutter see that he's not the only one with the back end moving about. Indeed, Steve Hislop moving around as well. Hislop now pushing very, very hard on the inside of Terry Reimer. Through he goes again. Is he going to make it stick this time? Reimer's Kawasaki is quicker. You would expect it to be quicker than the privateer bike, but Hislop is a demon on the brakes down here, and he's gone past into Duffer Stip number 11. Steve Hislop moves categorically now past Terry Reimer, and I think Reimer will settle now for following the Scotsman. You can see the ungainly attitude of Reimer's left elbow and the strapping, the heavy strapping from the practice injury. That's obviously playing on his mind. He doesn't want to hurt it, he's keeping it out of the way. This, the battle now in the privateers, but Steve Hislop, the leading privateer, number 11, Andy Ward, number 57, and David Jeffries, number 9, having another storming ride, and these two are teammates. There will be team orders. Basically, don't bring each other off. Jeffries drafted into this team for the remainder of the season. McPherson, Llewellyn and Michael Rutter running in 3rd, 4th and 5th places now. Steve Hislop up to 6th. Number 11, Hislop up to 6th with a trio ahead of him. He believes, I'm sure he believes, he has every opportunity of catching.
I think that Hislop started the race, he hit the back of Mackenzie on the first corner, and it sort of unsettled him a bit. He hasn't really done what he did in race 1 in this race.
Hislop is closing on Rutter because I think Rutter and Llewellyn and McPherson, number 13, in 3rd place. There's McPherson, but certainly Rutter and Llewellyn are holding each other up. Is Rutter going to go through on the inside of the Suzuki? Yes, he is. The Honda now up to 4th. Matt Llewellyn on the Suzuki, pushed wide. Now, will the power fight back on the Suzuki? Up the climb over the... It's got to move out of the slipstream, side by side again. The right-hand drop of Duffer Stip, but Rutter's on the inside line. He's got it. He's 4th in the race, and ahead of him, Ian McPherson. Rutter now senses maybe another rostrum.
I think Michael Rutter's confidence has grown as the race has progressed, and now he's got Ian McPherson ahead of him up through the chicane here. This is a difficult corner. It goes left and then right before going up towards Clark Curve. I think he'll try and catch McPherson. I do believe that he would like a podium place today.
Well, he's certainly got his head down. He means business, Michael Rutter, a 24-year-old from the West Midlands, and I've not had Mike Rutter down as a race winner. That may be a disservice because he's really going hard now. We're on board with Jim Moody in 8th place.
This is the approach to the hairpin, and you can see the front end of the Suzuki starting to shake a bit. It's an uphill corner, this. Very, very slow indeed. First gear, the front wheel may lift. Watch the rev counter go up as Jim Moody goes through the gears. There he is on bike number 21. And now the approach to the first corner, Duffy Stip, down the gearbox. Look at the rev counter flinking up and down. He heels it over to the right, then immediately to the left, then off the throttle, the revs go down, hard on the brakes, and through McIntyre's.
Having a fairly lonely ride in 8th place, Jim Moody. Ahead of him, Terry Reimer. Things going through Jim Moody's head, one of which will be, where's my teammate Matt Llewellyn? He's doing better than I am, and indeed he is. He's in 5th place, under real pressure now from Steve Hislop, number 11, who is stalking him, hunting him down. He knows full well he can go around here quicker than Matt Llewellyn, and he's going to make a bid on the outside, maybe cut it. Oh, dear me, he got his knee onto Matt Llewellyn's fairing. There was contact there between Llewellyn and Hislop. Undaunted, undeterred, Steve Hislop forcing on. There will be another chance. He's about to take it now. No, he's not. Llewellyn riding a very, very tight line. Roger, that was close.
Absolutely sensational, and Hislop has a look at McIntyre's, but no, goes back into the slipstream now. He won't be able to overtake up here. This is up to the chicane. The track goes left and then immediately right, but after here there's an opportunity on the entrance to Clark Curve. Hislop has a look. No, Llewellyn cuts him off the front, so Hislop's got to wait till the hairpin again.
Now the left-hander. Railway bend up towards the hairpin. Let's see which side Steve Hislop goes. Is he going to get on the inside this time of Matt Llewellyn? Yes, he does. That's the way to do it, Steve. Tight on the curb, knee on the curb. Llewellyn Suzuki will run out of breath up the hill, I'm sure. He can't drive it out of the turn. He's in the slipstream of Steve Hislop, who has really got the bit between his teeth. Hislop. There's a tail ender between Hislop and Michael Rutter, the man in front of him. Colin Hipwell, the orange liveried, number 26 tail ender, lies ahead of Steve Hislop. He needs to dispatch him extremely quickly. They catch the tail enders up, of course, pretty quickly round here. Short circuit, Roger.
Well, the tail enders that you're talking about are privateers, and that man on bike 11, Steve Hislop, is also a privateer. So we're making history. We're seeing a privateer lap a privateer. But back to the front, and that's Mackenzie as he goes down Duffy's Dip. We can see that Walker's not near enough to him. We can't just quite see where Walker is at this stage, but Mackenzie looks like he's got a very, very comfortable lead.
Back in the old flowing style again of Neil Mackenzie, a man supremely confident in his work, happy with the bike. He knows he's got this one under control. He never, ever rides at 150%. He always keeps a safety margin. Ian McPherson with Michael Rutter now right with him. The Honda man would dearly love a second consecutive rostrum finish here at Knockhill, and he is determined to go for it. They are closing too on Chris Walker. So the second, third and fourth place men here really going for it, and Rutter is hungry. I've never seen him this hungry.
He's really trying hard now. Into the hairpin, it's going to be interesting because McPherson moves over to the right. He's wanting Rutter to try and come round the outside. If you're going to pass me, Michael, that's the way you've got to do it. McPherson, a bit of a canny lad. We saw him in race 1 block out Steve Hislop on the last lap there at the hairpin. But Walker's position of second place is certainly coming under threat.
The Yamaha's fast, the number 2 Yamaha Walker, but the back wheels all over the place. They're on their last lap, 1.3 miles to do. McPherson has got a job and a half on his hands to stay in front of Michael Rutter. They are sweeping down through McIntyre's. Now, round the right-hander of Butcher's before they come to the chicane. Left and right. Will the superior engine power of the Honda sprint Michael Rutter along this bottom straight? He's got to turn it into the right-hander and then drive hard. Oh, he turned it in too hard. Rutter hits the gravel. The Honda cartwheeled out of the race. Fortunately, Rutter's on his feet, but it won't be a rostrum. It will for this man. Mackenzie, a tail ender ahead of him, a celebration wheelie, the checkered flag in sight. Neil Mackenzie has taken the win. Chris Walker gets second. McPherson, well, brilliant. McPherson drove hard. The pressure was too much for Michael Rutter, but what a win. 25 points for Mackenzie. Walker second, McPherson third, Hislop fourth to add to his previous rostrum place. Llewellyn, Reimer hung on to sixth, Moody and Simpson.
Neil, what a hero. That must make up for the disappointment in the first one. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to win both here today, but it's a bit unfortunate going down in the first with Jim Moody. But I didn't think I'd make the second because my foot was killing me, but I got myself full of painkillers and strapped up and it was okay. Is it still hurting now? Yeah, it's aching now. Last few laps I was struggling a bit. I was missing, I can't put a lot of weight on it, so on right-handers I was struggling a little bit, but it's good enough to do the job.
Good enough to do the job. 318 points now with 6 races remaining. Reynolds slipping away all the time. McPherson going from strength to strength and Reimer dropping backwards. Stringer still leads the privateers, but Steve Hislop's going to be appearing on that board very soon. Brett Sampson still in second place. Darren Dixon, one of today's crashers. Andy Hatton didn't ride, and Yamaha a massive lead in the manufacturers' standings. Ducati, Kawasaki and Honda. Championship leader Neil Mackenzie, 10 wins this year, but he does not like the wet weather. We saw him struggle a bit at Brands. By the same token, the man behind him, number 5, Sean Emmett, excelled at Brands Hatch with a slick rear tyre. Are we about to see a repeat performance of Emmett's superb wet weather technique? Race leader on the last lap, Ian Simpson, the 1994 Superbike champion, has gone very well, picked up the threads on that Ducati over halfway through the season and is getting better and better. A massive twitch from the rear end, a flap of the knees, as Simpson characteristically does, and he gets the checkered flag. Win number 1 in 1997 in the Superbike series for Simpson. Rutter, Reimer and McPherson 3rd and 4th. Mackenzie was 7th with Walker ahead of him, but what a ride by Ian Simpson.
Ian, where did you find that grip?
Oh, just the Michelin tyres were absolutely unbelievable there. I've never had tyres that worked like that in the rain before, but it was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Still 64 points, Mackenzie's lead in the championship, but Michael Rutter's 2nd place moves him past John Reynolds into 3rd. McPherson has overtaken Reimer. Moody and Sean Emmett is 8th on 146. But there it is, Ian Simpson, a young, delighted Scotsman with win number 1 in the Superbike Championship. Round 18, Mackenzie on pole, Rutter, Walker, McPherson. The conditions here still very wet indeed. Moody, Emmett, Reimer and Ian Simpson, who won the race, would you believe, from 8th fastest qualifying. Is he going to do it again? We shall see. Still a lot of water on the track and something of a dilemma on tyre choice. A lot of the riders this time have gone for intermediate rubber. Mackenzie, I think, though, Steve, out on a full wet front.
Yeah, Mackenzie went for the conservative choice. He chose the wet front because it does stay very damp under the trees, and he really just wants to pick up some points this weekend. He's already admitted to not liking the conditions, but this man in front, Michael Rutter, has already stretched an advantage over number 3, Terry Reimer, and a huge battle on here for 3rd place. It's Simpson, number 22, but no, Mackenzie's on the inside as they go into the very slow park corner at the end of the straight. Now it is, they tip it in. Simpson, number 22, gets in there in 3rd place. Right behind him is Mackenzie, number 1. He's the man with the wet front tyre. So we might see him make a few moves on the early part of this race, but as it dries out, that front tyre will cause him problems. I'm quite sure of that.
What Mackenzie, number 1, needs to do, of course, is put the championship out of reach of Chris Walker, his teammate number 2, the man in the middle of your picture there, but Walker is hanging on to his coattails. Sean Emmett, number 5, on the Ducati, going with him, and Emmett is climbing all over the back of Walker. Number 22, Simpson, first race winner, charging away. The 2 Yamaha men, the younger one of the 2, the number 2 rider, Chris Walker, a bit braver, I think. He's a former motocrosser. He loves this mountain section. Up come the front wheels as they go towards the slippery part of the circuit, into Hall Bends, into the woodland, under the trees. Fallen leaves can cause all sorts of problems here, and it's far from dry on this part of the circuit. Mackenzie, number 1, leading Walker. Ahead of them, Simpson. Ahead of them, Terry Reimer. Ahead of them was Terry Reimer. Terry Reimer has put it down at Barn Corner and is struggling. The adrenaline charging through his veins now as he struggles to pick the bike up, but it's to no avail. Mackenzie will have seen that. He'll have thought, softly, softly, there's no way I want to end up in the bales or indeed in the tyres. Mackenzie then stalking Ian Simpson, number 22. The Yamaha here, Steve, a little bit quicker, but is he going to be able to use it?
Well, that's exactly right, Barry, because you can't use this 160 brake horsepower in these conditions, so tiptoeing your way around, there's no question about it that Neil Mackenzie is not liking these conditions. He has this wet front tyre, and you can start to see there immediately a drying line, so I think we're going to start to see him going backwards at this point. Simpson is the man on the move, but he's got a lot of work to do because Michael Rutter, number 4, has already got something like a 5-second advantage.
Neil Mackenzie, number 1, right on the back end of Ian Simpson. With him, Chris Walker. They're now coming into the bottom of the mountain section. Mackenzie's making a move. He knows it's damp. Once they get round the left-hander, he's going to attack Ian Simpson. This is where his superior front tyre might pay off through the woodland section. Mackenzie making hay, if you'll pardon the expression, where the sun doesn't shine, because he's now going into Hall Bends and trying to use that good rubber to stretch the advantage over Simpson, which he does. Simpson now dropping back into the clutch. Look how greasy it is as they round. This is where Terry Reimer fell off. Mackenzie will know that, and he is oh so cautious. There's a dry line on the inside, and even his Yamaha move, the back end twitch. It's so slippery, Steve.
Well, Neil Mackenzie will actually be trying to find the wet lines at this point, I think, because of that front tyre. It's a heavily treaded front tyre. If it overheats, it just like melts the rubber, and so he'll really have some problems as the race goes on. So Neil Mackenzie will be looking for the wet parts of the circuit down the straights to cool that front tyre. And he really does have to try and get away at this early stage in the race, because as the race goes on, the rear tyre he has is an intermediate. That will be okay, but it's the front tyre that's going to cause him problems. Looking now, number 22, Simpson in third spot, being chased by Walker. Walker looks down the inside as they go into Park Corner. Will he be able to get through and sneak through? No, he doesn't. He drops back in behind Simpson, number 22. This is the point when they start accelerating from third gear into fourth gear, a short shift into fifth, using the torque of the engine at this point, really now getting some drive through Chris Curve before they come to the left-handed part, which is the gooseneck. Here they come, in through the gooseneck now. And they start accelerating down the hill before they come to the horrible left-handed Mansfield corner. You can see the water running across the circuit there. It's still very damp at this point. Accelerating now, up into third gear, fourth gear. Front wheel lifts there from Simpson. Walker on the inside as they come down towards the mountain. Now we go into the damp part. Walker goes around the outside just like Neil Mackenzie had done to Simpson on the lap before. So Walker now is the man up into third.
Over the hill, Chris Walker. Ian Simpson, 22 with him, pops a little wheelie on the Ducati. Mackenzie is going away now in pursuit of the race leader. Neil Mackenzie stretching the gap away from teammate Chris Walker. Look how damp it is, and there looming large in the background is Sean Emmett, number 5, Terry Reimer. A disconsolate Terry Reimer walking away. His season is going from bad to worse. What does he have to do to get it right? He stepped off on a number of occasions. He came off in the Suzuka 8-hour race, flown there by Kawasaki to contest it. Steve, on board with Emmett.
We're on board now, yes, with Sean Emmett as we're coming down the fast part of the circuit, 150 miles an hour, just getting 155 miles an hour as they crest the rise here, hard on the brakes at this point. Now that's Ian Simpson in front of us, so they're into Park Corner, third gear corner, starting to accelerate. You'll hear that engine revs go up. You can see the rev counter on the left-hand side of your screen. Into Chris Curve, fourth gear. Shortly shifting into fifth just before they brake for the gooseneck. So he's closing in a little bit on the brakes into the gooseneck, flicking it left as they go down the hill here now.
Good pictures from our mobile cameraman, Sean Emmett, in fourth.
Terry, barn corner caught you out in the damp.
Yeah, we had intermediates on, and I was just trying to hold on to Michael Rutter, and he was flying, you know, and I turned in the same speed as what he did, but the tyres just went up from underneath me. They're just one of them things, I guess.
That's a despairing expression from Terry Reimer, and I'm not surprised. McPherson, number 13, his teammate, is running strongly. He's been a very, very solid performer. But look at Ian Simpson now. The two Ducatis. Emmett, number 5, right in the wheel tracks of Simpson. There won't be that much difference. John Hackett prepares the engine on Emmett's bike. And that's the only other Ducati riding in the red team, of course, that Simpson is on. Formerly third in the championship, John Reynolds spectating here. I wonder what's going through his mind, Steve.
He will be bitterly disappointed seeing his third place in the championship gradually disappear, and the people that are going to be passing. And there's, look at that, there's Neil Mackenzie. Neil Mackenzie has really gone up the slip road at Mansfield Corner. He gingerly turned it around the grass and has rejoined the race, but that certainly cost him a lot of positions. He's now joining the race in something like 6th or 7th position.
Very, very difficult. That illustrates just how brave these riders have to be. Once they have the commitment to turn it in, they have to turn it in. If they don't, they have no alternative but to go straight on. These guys aren't going straight on. They're flicking it left, right. They're all three together now. Simpson, his battle with Emmett has pushed him up on the back end of number 2, the Yamaha rider, Chris Walker. And Walker now softly around the inside at Barn and away down the start-finish straight. The sun is now out. There is an evident dry line. These riders will be making the most of it on their intermediate tyres. Neil Mackenzie, on the other hand, with that wet weather front, will be looking for all the wet patches to keep the tyre cool. Simpson heeling it over. They're getting closer and closer. We know how quickly Ian Simpson can go because he's a race winner here at Cadwell, and he is on a charge. He's looking at the back end of Chris Walker. The Yamaha has absolutely nothing over the Ducati in terms of straight line speed, and up the inside goes Ian Simpson. A beautiful passing move. Ian Simpson then at Park, fighting back. Walker, Simpson went wide, almost into the clutches of number 5, Sean Emmett, and he's back there again. He's got to work all over again as down the gooseneck he goes. Simpson looking right, away on the brakes goes Walker, flicks it right, flicks it left. The next bend ahead of them, the left-hander of Mansfield. Is Simpson going to have, oh dear me! Walker's Yamaha incredibly out of shape, and Simpson will have seen that. He's pushing the 25-year-old Nottingham man to the outer limits of traction on those intermediate tyres. The damp treacherous conditions here at Cadwell, catching everybody out. Over the mountain they go. Emmett, Simpson, Ducati, ahead of them a Yamaha, closing rapidly a Kawasaki, number 13, Ian McPherson. Through Hall Bends they go. A convoy in the wet, a very, very slippy convoy in the wet, and round they go at Barn one more time. Chris Walker, number 2, the leading Yamaha rider, because teammate McKenzie, there's a crash. That's McKenzie, that's the championship leader. His helmet, the bike's on, there's a lot of steam and smoke coming from it. Into the tyre wall went McKenzie. He paid the price for something, Steve. What was that?
Well, we saw a few laps earlier that McKenzie had problems, and I think it was that wet front tyre. The track was drying out, and there's no question about it. The race is being stopped. The red flags are out. You'll see the riders put their hands up in a minute because the race is being stopped. And there we have number 22, Ian Simpson, and there Sean Emmett raises his hand. The race has been stopped, probably because of this accident. This is Barn Corner, exactly where Terry Reimer fell off. We saw Neil Mackenzie's bike sliding in there completely upside down, and there he is underneath the bike. So that's a major problem for Neil Mackenzie, but he's up. He looks to be okay. We'll have to wait to see the extent of his injuries.
Michael Rutter then in front at the stoppage. The race will be restarted, having been stopped after 6 laps. McPherson, Mackenzie, Jeffries, but Michael Rutter was charging away.
Michael, you must be a bit disappointed about the race being stopped.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's safety anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I just got to try and do it again now.
You had a huge margin, so you can actually take it easy in the second part.
Yeah, that's what. We put the intermediates back in. Really, I'd like to go on for slicks, but it's just so dodgy. You could just lose the front any time. So we've just gone with what we had in before.
So the restart and effectively the second part of round 18, the grid forms up in the positions in which they were at the stoppage. The bad news for Mackenzie is that he has a broken left wrist and obviously will not start. That puts a big question mark over his championship. Will he be fit for Brands Hatch? So Mackenzie distraught. There's the pole position man, because he was 11 seconds in the lead. Over the man in second place, Chris Walker, number 2. Ian Simpson, equally quick, was going like a train. Only 14 riders start this restart. Such is this race of attrition. But it's Walker, number 2, getting the early lead as they sweep round Copies. Up to Charlie's, the right-hander. It's Walker leading Rutter. Right with them has gone 22, Simpson. Then it's Sean Emmett, number 5 on the Ducati. Then it's David Jeffries, number 9, the leading privateer in this race, who came home 7th in the earlier encounter. But it's Walker, making no mistake this time. Chris Walker knows exactly what he has to do. He has to beat Michael Rutter by not less than 11 seconds, because the times will be added together and an aggregate result given at the end of this. I'm very sorry, said Sean Emmett. I dived up the inside. If I inconvenienced you, I didn't mean to do it. Was that a fair statement?
Yes, it was very apologetic of Sean Emmett at that point. He did run in there a little bit hot. Now, the man that's leading this race has gambled. He's fitted a rear slick tyre. Him and Ian McPherson have fitted slick tyres for this second part of this aggregate race, and so he will be keen to get some heat in that rear tyre. It'll be very tricky on this point of the circuit. Now they're coming over the mountain there. It's the wettest part of the circuit. He'll be desperately keen trying to keep heat in that rear tyre, but it's very difficult. Unlike a car, you can't slither and slide around to build the heat up. He's tiptoeing his way through this section, but virtually impossible for number 4 behind him, Michael Rutter, to pass. There is only one dry-ish line, and certainly that man in front, number 1, Chris Walker, will be making himself as wide as possible. Now he's coming to the drier part of the circuit, over the start and finish line. 5th gear into 6th gear, 140 miles an hour as they cross the start and finish line. Coming to the dry part, you saw a wriggle there and water laying on the circuit at that point, but it's the corners where he's got to be careful. There is certainly a drying line, and as the race progresses, I think that rear slick tyre, the choice he's made is the right choice.
Second place man, number 4, Michael Rutter from Brierley Hill. We're now with Sean Emmett, and Sean Emmett has in front of him Michael Rutter. So it's Ducati versus Honda. Steve, a blue sky. The track is dry round here, but it's dodgy again as they come into the woods.
It is. They're coming off the end of the straight at this point into the slow corner, and there is Michael Rutter in front, and he's going through on the inside. So Sean Emmett, the man we were riding through, just nips through as they come up to Chris Curve once again. Rutter has a look on the inside at this point before they come to the gooseneck, but no. Emmett forces his way in there before they get to the gooseneck, flicking into the left-hander at this point now. Emmett has really closed in on Chris Walker. So look at this, Sean Emmett, as they come to a damp part there, you can see the water running across the circuit. Remember, number 2 there has a slick rear tyre. He'll be able to use the drive on this part of the circuit, really getting the power down, but now he's coming to the tricky part. Sean Emmett running intermediates will be able to close at this point. They come through a very slow part, 2nd gear. gingerly squeezing the power on. You don't want too much of a wheel at this point. When the front wheel's in the air, you're not going forward fast enough. So there, front wheels come down, in through the S's, under the trees, and it is very, very greasy at this point. Down to the slowest corner on the circuit, the first gear, right-handed hairpin. There is the yellow number-plated number 9, David Jeffries, indicating he is the first privateer in this race, doing a fantastic job there in 6th position.
Well, Michael Rutter, number 4. Oh, Jeffries gave an almighty twitch ahead of Ian McPherson. McPherson then the sole remaining Kawasaki in this race, and he comes out of the slipstream of the number 9 privateer, David Jeffries, on the Ducati, who's delighted to be back in British Superbike Championship action, and he's still in front. The other Ducati going well, remarkably well, is Sean Emmett. We're riding with him now, stalking down the number 2 Yamaha of Chris Walker. Emmett has a great deal to gain now that Mackenzie is out of the race. He wants to enhance his championship standings. Terry Reimer is taking no further part in the proceedings. He's dropping back down the order. And Sean Emmett, one of the riders, Steve, who's rumoured to be possibly talking about going back to World Superbike. That'll be a shame, as indeed, I hear, is John Reynolds.
A number of these riders here racing in this superb series are keen to get into World Superbike Championship. It's the premier event. It will be very difficult for them to find a position, and I think this is a great breeding ground for getting into World Superbikes. No question about it. But now we're looking at number 2, Chris Walker. Now, he is well aware of the fact that he needs to make up something like 11 seconds over Michael Rutter. He will be getting pit signals to say he is something like +1, +1.5. That's not enough. Second position is Sean Emmett. Now, he's actually battling for 3rd place in aggregate against Chris Walker, so that's the position we're in at the moment. No doubt about it. Michael Rutter, number 4 there in 3rd spot, knows full well that he has a 7-second advantage.
He also knows that the man behind him, number 22, Ian Simpson, is more than capable of going past. We've already seen Simpson demonstrate that, so Michael Rutter's got one eye in front on Walker and another eye behind him on the number 22 Ducati, and Walker now charging away, breaking the toe from number 5, Sean Emmett, this man who's almost throwing caution to the wind as the conditions improve here, heeling it round at an unbelievably low angle. The Ducati man now is closing. He's squeezing the throttle open right in the wheel tracks of the Yamaha. Is he going to make it on this fast stretch? No, the Yamaha power was evident there. Here they are at park. This right-hander clipping the apex, coming out wide using all of the track, but there's a big gap on the inside, and can Sean Emmett take advantage? He's looking right, he's looking left, down towards the gooseneck. There'll be a right. Then they swing left, adverse camber, dropping away. They're at it now. Emmett has never been so close, but he looks over the shoulder to see where the Honda is of Michael Rutter. There it is. Rutter's getting away from Simpson, but still we have a tremendous battle between the Yamaha number 2 of Walker and the Ducati number 5 of Emmett.
It is so difficult to pass in these conditions. You can see a drying line, and that is the only line to be on. Once you move off onto the wet, there's not as much grip. So it's so difficult at Cadwell Park to pass in the best of conditions, but in these drying conditions, it's virtually impossible. But as I say, that number 13, Ian McPherson, goes through. He's another man that's on a slick tyre. As we see, number 2 there, Chris Walker, we spoke about, is running a slick tyre. So is the man that's moved up into 4th spot, Ian McPherson, number 13 on the Kawasaki. So he's a man on the charge. He'll be looking for that dry line. We saw Chris Walker there smoke the rear tyre, trying to leave some black lines. He comes over the start and finish line now. Here they are. Number 4, Rutter, has a look on the inside, but no, he decides better. He knows full well he doesn't need to pass these guys in front. He has an 11-second lead, and that is something like the whole length of the start and finish straight. So he is more than comfortable where he is in 3rd spot.
Walker will be very keen to gain some points, some big points, because this is round 18 of a 22-round championship. From here, the riders go to Brands Hatch. From Brands Hatch, they go to Donington. There are still 100 points potentially up for grabs after this race. Walker knows that. The championship now, never mind the championship leader, Neil Mackenzie, who sadly is away with a broken left wrist. Hopefully he'll be back for Brands. Never mind Neil, this man could win the championship. But Sean Emmett also senses a good result on the cards here. Into Mansfield, the front end of Walker's bike moving all over the track, and again he flicks it right up to the bottom of the mountain, turns it in left. It's still a bit damp on the inside, so he goes in wide. They all go in wide. McPherson, number 13 on the green Kawasaki, is really piling on the coals, and he means business. He's having a look at Michael Rutter, goes past into Hall Bends. Another place for Ian McPherson. Ahead of him is number 5, Sean Emmett, and McPherson now making progress at a rate of knots.
Well, so much for me saying there's only one line through here. McPherson has proven me completely wrong, because he's the man that's on the charge. He's setting the fastest lap of this race so far, and he is charging, looking for that dry line, but you can see him trying to squeeze the power on the rear end of the bike. Snaps out, but he keeps it under control, tucked under the bubble there, right in the screen there, really tucking himself in as they go into the fast left-hander. They shift down one gear for this corner, down another in for the right here, which is Charlie's corner. Very important corner. You must get the power squeezed on here because it leads onto the straight. You'll see McPherson now tuck himself under the screen. He's right in the slipstream of Sean Emmett. Sean Emmett looks over to the right-hand side and sees him. So Sean Emmett will keep himself on the inside because there's really only one way to pass into Park Corner, and that's on the inside. But no, McPherson decides better. He sits in close behind Sean Emmett as they come through here. Third gear, but he's got the drive out of this one, but no, he can't make it. Now they're coming to Chris Curve. They're into fourth gear. They shift up into fifth, about 120 miles an hour before they brake, before they get to the gooseneck. And it's a left-hander, the gooseneck. McPherson is very fast through here. He'll have a look as they come down towards Mansfield, but I don't think it's possible. His best chance is coming out of Mansfield, but there's water on the circuit. You can see it's still wet there. They have to wait till they've passed that before they can put the power down. Again, number 5 there, Sean Emmett, has a look over his shoulder, but no, McPherson is there all the time.
The 26-year-old Scotsman, number 13, McPherson, his first year in British Superbike. He has got better and better and better, taking his first win at the previous venue at Knockhill, and he really knows then that victory here is within his grasp. All he has to do is get past Emmett, then have a really serious stab at Chris Walker. Walker is not going away. Rutter's keeping him in sight. Number 4, Rutter, sitting here in 4th place. As long as he doesn't let Chris Walker, the race leader, disappear out of sight, he knows he's got the race in the bag. One more lap of Cadwell Park to do. Is Ian McPherson, number 13, going to be able to pass Sean Emmett in this final tour of the circuit? He certainly means business. He's pushing hard. Emmett knows he's got somebody climbing all over the back, and McPherson is going for it.
Well, remember, this is the battle for third place on aggregate. It's between these two riders. Sean Emmett finished third in the first part of this race. McPherson was fourth. Now, if McPherson can get past Sean Emmett to take that third spot and pull out a 2-second advantage, then he will take third spot on aggregate. He's through on the inside. Look at how close they are as they go into Chris Curve. Really barging his way. Now we're on board with Sean Emmett, looking at the man in front. He doesn't need to let McPherson get away from him. He's just got to trail him over the line and he will take third spot. I don't think Sean Emmett will be letting him go whatever happens, but they're coming down now into Mansfield Corner. You can still see the water there across the circuit. They wait till they get past that on the power at this point. Now number 5 just needs to keep that distance behind number 13 and he will take third position.
The crowd are thrilling to this one. This has been spectacular. There's been a lot of waiting around here while the track was swept free of water, swept free of gravel and grit. But now it's almost clear. Clear enough for Chris Walker, the race leader, although Ian McPherson made... There's David Jeffries, the leading privateer rider in the race, going superbly well and proving that he's a good bet for 1998. If somebody has a free Superbike ride, give it to David Jeffries. Checkered flag is out. McPherson stayed ahead of Emmett, but there's your Part 2 race winner, Chris Walker, but not, I suspect, enough on aggregate to take the overall win. There, race stringer number 7, the new 1997 privateer champion. He cannot be beaten in the remaining races. Stringer then, the privateer champ. The sun is now out at Cadwell Park. Rutter got the overall verdict from Walker. Emmett third from McPherson. He didn't pull the 2 seconds back. Simpson and Jeffries, a brilliant 6th place for a privateer.
Michael, your first win in Hondas of the series, you must be very happy.
Fantastic, you know, I knew it would eventually come. All year I've been waiting for it and finally got one.
Were you aware of the position on the overall?
Yeah, like I kept my eye on Chris, and every time he went quicker, I just, you know, went a bit quicker. But it was just dodgy out there. It was wet patches and it was sliding. I'm just glad it was over the last lap.
Michael Rutter has come of age, his first championship win. Mackenzie, 44 points now the gap from Walker, so Walker on with a real chance of lifting the title. John Reynolds, sadly, going backwards, as indeed is Terry Ryder. Michael Rutter thrilled and delighted now in the sunshine at Cadwell. Can he take that continuing success through to Brands Hatch? Stringer lifting the Privateers Championship from Brett Sampson, Ward and Dean Ashton. Darren Dixon, a heavy faller at Knockhill, is still 5th. Graham Ward, Andy Hatton, he's still injured, and Colin Hipwell consistently in 8th place. Yamaha look almost certain to win the Manufacturers' Championship, but in any case it'll be a Yamaha rider who will be British champion. The clear favourite as we move on to Brands Hatch is of course Neil Mackenzie, but he left Cadwell with a broken left wrist and is here today in a plaster cast. Is a 2-week recovery period enough? Well, Mackenzie stunned not just his fans but himself with a brilliant pole position qualifier.
I mean, mathematically it is possible for me to win the championship, but the racing is going to be really hectic at the front, and before I got here my main plan was just to finish both races, and as close to Chris Walker, my only championship rival, as close as possible, so that's still the plan. Hopefully I'll be able to run with a bunch at the front and see what Chris is doing. If it's possible to win, then I'll try, but I can't risk anything at this stage.
The same is not true for teammate Chris Walker. He can still win the championship, but nothing less than a double win here today will do, and that means beating Neil Mackenzie.
He knows the track, he knows his bike well. He's going to be tough to beat whether he's slightly injured or not, but yesterday he proved that he can ride with his injured wrist, so we'll just have to wait and see, but I'm looking forward to it all the same.
As the race got underway, Walker did what he had to do and led the charge up the hill to Druids. Everyone careful here not to make a mistake at this crucial point in the season, and local man Terry Reimer, anxious for a good result on the green Kawasaki, slotted into second place, hoping to put his local knowledge to good use. Neil Mackenzie was third ahead of Honda's Michael Rutter, the Ducati of Sean Emmett and Suzuki's Jim Moody, whose teammate Matt Llewellyn had struggled all weekend with a misfire, which meant he retired his Suzuki from round 19. Not a happy season for Llewellyn, who, with a best result of third at Snetterton, will surely want to put 1997 behind him. But Sean Emmett, winner here in the rain earlier in the year, was closing down the race leader Walker, with Mackenzie keeping a watchful eye on his championship. On the fast-flowing woodland part of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, where the riders reach corner speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour, Emmett was riding like a man possessed and muscled his way past the leader at the difficult Stirling's Bend. With 5 laps remaining, Reynolds and Mackenzie were also on a charge, and we pick up the action with Roger Burnett.
The important thing now is that Neil Mackenzie has got through into second place behind Sean Emmett as they exit now Hawthorne Bend on the approach to Westfield. Sat in third place is Chris Walker, closely followed now by John Reynolds. Now John Reynolds must be under an awful lot of pain riding, of course, with that dislocated shoulder from 8 weeks ago at Mallory Park as they go through Dingledale now, keeping it all together, left-handed round Stirling's, and Emmett now fires the Ducati down towards Clearways.
Astonishing performance by John Reynolds. As you say, 8 weeks, a long time. The injury took a lot longer than he thought to mend. He's having difficulty getting down behind the perspex, but the man in red has gone past Walker. Walker's fighting back, though. He can hold a tight line on the Yamaha as they go side by side into Paddock Hill Bend. Reynolds back to fourth on the outside line, but he senses a better result, cutting back through and up Halewood Hill. Walker moving all over the place, the number 2 Yamaha. He knows he's got a race win here. He's got to do something about Mackenzie, who is in second. This is the battle, though, for third place. Number 33, the red Ducati of John Reynolds. He really has a point to prove now at this point in the season. Both of these riders moving around the track a great deal, but Sean Emmett on a Ducati leading this race with the championship leader behind him, Roger.
And Chris Walker now has to try everything he knows to try and get the better of John Reynolds. That's not going to be easy, and Mackenzie moves ahead of Sean Emmett on the fast approach, 110 miles an hour there, knee down on the road as they exit Hawthorne up towards Westfield. Now Reynolds is going to be very difficult to pass. He's on a very fast bike. Chris Walker's got to get ahead of him. Now we've got Emmett and Reynolds between Mackenzie and Walker, so that's going to prove a real problem now for Chris Walker.
I'm going to emphasise the point. The number 1 race leader, Neil Mackenzie, at 36 years of age, on his way to championship number 2, has a broken left wrist. It's in a special plaster cast. You can see just how little he is moving around on the bike, in utter contrast to his teammate, who climbs all over it. They go past a tail ender. Mackenzie, the race leader, number 1, is so neat. He flows. He makes it look as though he's riding the bike to work. That man, Sean Emmett, number 5 on the Ducati, senses that he can get past Mackenzie. He will know, obviously, that he's injured. He will know that that must be on Neil Mackenzie's mind. The one thing the Scot does not want to do, Roger, is throw the bike down the road.
Absolutely not. I think it was a big shock to everybody that Neil Mackenzie crashed at Cadwell Park 3 weeks ago, breaking that left wrist. It was completely out of character for him. Sean Emmett now is really pressurising, but John Reynolds has really made some ground up. I wouldn't be surprised if John Reynolds isn't putting the fastest laps in at the moment. He's now up to third, pulling away slightly from Chris Walker, but catching these two leaders.
It's also significant that the top three men in this race, number 1, number 5 and number 33, have all spent long seasons on the Grand Prix circuit. They've all spent time in World Superbike racing. Indeed, Neil Mackenzie, the race leader, finished on the podium here at Brands Hatch at the World Superbike round just a few weeks ago. So he is very quick round here. He knows the circuit inside out. And these four of them, Walker now, the number 2 fourth place man, is beginning to regain his composure and is closing down John Reynolds again, but they've gone away from the chasing bunch. Mackenzie doing everything he needs to do. 15,000 people here at Brands Hatch, thrilling to the antics of the Scot on his way to his second title. Walker is on the inside, going for third place from John Reynolds. That Yamaha, Roger, is devastatingly quick onto the straight.
Well, that's obviously the point at which Walker feels that he's strong. He feels he can get a better drive out of clearways down towards the start and finish, and that may be something he was trying out there, Barry, with anticipation of the last lap.
Well, if he can pull that one off, and the back end of Chris Walker's bike, it's the number 2 Yamaha I'm talking about. This man as well, John Reynolds, he's not moving too much on the bike because he is handicapped by that shoulder injury, which really prevents him from getting down as low and as compactly as he would have liked. So he's not moving too much, but Walker, the man at the tail end of this bunch, makes his bike move all over the tarmac, going for second place. Battle of the Ducatis. Number 33, Reynolds, gets it, goes past Sean Emmett. Reynolds now knows that the only man between him and victory is Neil Mackenzie ahead of him, and I suspect that it's almost the battle of the walking wounded because they are both carrying injuries, but it doesn't seem, Roger, to impair their progress.
Well, John Reynolds and Neil Mackenzie are both experienced, very capable guys, very gritty indeed. John Reynolds told me before the race that we may see him sat upright as the race starts, and as it progresses and gets warmth into his muscles, he'll get down behind the bubble, and as the race has progressed, John Reynolds has got faster.
This is the 2.6 mile Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch. Walker now coming out on the inside of number 5, Sean Emmett, and just holding the inside line, but Emmett's very determined. Not determined enough, or is he? Oh dear me, is there room for Emmett to cut back on the inside? That was brilliant stuff by Walker. Look at the back end of the Yamaha, under braking into Druids. The right-hander, second gear bend of Druids, away down Graham Hill to the left-hander. They now come onto the Cooper Straight, which is the back straight of the old Indy circuit, and instead of going straight on the Indy circuit, they sweep left out into the woodlands, round Surtees, and away towards Pilgrim's Drop, a very fast part of the circuit indeed. Gradually right-handed, that's all. Then Hawthorne Bend, sweeping Hawthorne Bend, 100 miles an hour at this point as they head up towards Westfield, which is another very tight, sweeping right-handed bend taken, Roger, at frightening speeds.
Well, this is an incredibly fast corner with no runoff on the outside of the corner as they sweep down through the drop there. Then this is a blind brow where the camber goes off, the bike goes very light there on the right, and then up onto the brakes, down 2 gears and into Stirling's Bend. This is quite important because now we've got the run down to Clearways Corner, which is the final corner before the start and finish line, and this is where all the overtaking manoeuvres normally take place. You have to try to get a really good drive onto the start and finish.
Roger, when the riders are as close as this, they're obviously very focused. Most of the actions, I would have thought, on the track are almost subconscious. What's going through their mind when they're in this sort of company?
Well, as we start the last lap now, they'll all feel that they can win this. I would say that obviously Neil Mackenzie's in the best position. Chris Walker there has to win it to beat Mackenzie. Sean Emmett sat at the back there, and he's like the dog going to pick the crumbs up from the table. I think he's sort of thinking that we saw him have a twitch there. Perhaps he's got a tyre problem, I don't know, but they'll all really believe they can win.
Well, number 33, John Reynolds, was cautiously optimistic. Mackenzie absolutely delighted, I would think, with his performance. Number 2, Chris Walker in third place, somewhat crestfallen as a result of Mackenzie's stunning qualifying performance. That will have detuned him a bit, but can he get second? Yes, maybe he can. He's really close now. It could be a Yamaha 1-2 we're looking at, but at the moment they are split by the number 33 Ducati of John Reynolds. Good to see him back. Good to see him going well, and it bodes well for Donington, his local circuit, as we move into rounds 21 and 22 after this Brands Hatch venue. But Mackenzie, the race leader, number 1, doing everything, almost enough to put the title out of reach of the man in third place, Chris Walker, number 2. But certainly Walker has not given up yet by a country mile. He'll be giving it his best. Oh, Walker is down. He'll be giving it his best shot, but it wasn't good enough. Chris Walker is off. That's given third place to Emmett. Mackenzie gets the win. Reynolds, number 33, he's got to be pleased with second place, and Walker's going to restart. He's going to salvage some points. That is a true professional at work. He's back on the track. Whether or not he'll be excluded for outside assistance is debatable. That has to be one very pleased Scotsman. Neil Mackenzie, race winner. Confirmation then, Reynolds got second, Sean Emmett third, and Michael Rutter brought the Honda into fourth. Both Kawasaki's were in the top 8, but what a great ride by Neil Mackenzie.
I can't believe it. I couldn't believe, beginning of the week I didn't think I'd be able to ride a bike, and practice went really well. And to come here and win a race is ideal. It's ideal for my championship, and I'm just over the moon. Really, really pleased.
Well, there it is. That's almost out of reach now. Chris Walker has got to win this next race. Michael Rutter, John Reynolds moves to fourth. McPherson, a solid performance, and Reimer still there in the top 8.
Chris, you were giving it your all. You had to do it, but it didn't work out.
No, it didn't pay off. I kind of tried John out the last lap, well, the previous lap to the one that I fell off on, along the start-finish straight. And I worked out if I got a good run on him around clearways, I could do him to the line. Because it was really hard to pass out the back of the circuit. I wasn't really faster than him anyway. I could run with him, but so this was the place to do it. So I just went into the last corner just a little bit quicker, slightly tighter line, and just the front wheel just tucked on me. So it's unfortunate it was a crash. I still finished. I managed to jump back on and finish the race. So this got a few points, but I had to finish in front of Neil, or at least as close to him as I could. So I had to try it. But no, I mean, you never give up really, like Neil said. He's been in the lead of the championship most of the season, and a fortnight ago it looked like he wasn't going to win it, but 44 points was a lot to make up anyway. I knew it was a long shot. I've had to give it my all at Brands. We've got another race left, and we'll see how we go on in that one. Hopefully get on the rostrum and sort them out.
That's a very positive and philosophical attitude from Chris Walker, I must say. He's alongside Mackenzie on the front row with Reynolds and Reimer. Emmett, Rutter, McPherson, and Steve Hislop still going well on Ray Stringer's other Kawasaki. There's Ray Stringer, already the privateer champion, Moody Simpson and Matt Llewellyn. David Heel there, number 23, having a first-time ride on a Superbike. Pole position man and champion designate, number 1, Neil Mackenzie. Chris Walker, a man on a mission alongside him. Mackenzie will never have been more focused than he is right now. 15 laps, 39 miles ahead of them. Flagman will move away, lights go to green. That was a good start from somebody on the second row. Michael Rutter through into second place. Michael Rutter, number 4 on the Honda. But round the outside goes one of the Suzukis and one of the other Yamahas. But out in front, a cracking start. Neil Mackenzie is there in third. It's Chris Walker. Walker knew what he had to do. Rutter is in second. Mackenzie's in third. Moody on the Suzuki is there as well. Terry Reimer also well placed, as indeed is number 13, Ian McPherson. John Reynolds did not get a good start, but Chris Walker, desperate to make amends for his first race crash, is away. Michael Rutter, number 4, the yellow and red liveried Honda. He's quick. The Honda is reputed to be one of the fastest bikes out here. Roger, it remains to be seen. This is certainly a circuit where he could use the power.
Michael Rutter's had some exceptional results this year with the V&M team, and they've performed exceptionally well. But Chris Walker's out there doing the business, and Sean Emmett looks very, very strong in this one too, in third place, as we watch some of the privateers go through. Up through Dingle Dell now, and there's Ian Simpson, followed by Steve Hislop. Quite low down there, but Walker now into Stirling's Bend, with Rutter behind him, Sean Emmett, Neil Mackenzie, Terry Reimer, Jim Moody. It's as quick as that.
Chris Walker, from Nottingham, former motocrosser. That explains why he wriggles around so much on the bike. He leads the race. Michael Rutter from the West Midlands, number 4 on the Honda. Sean Emmett, already a winner here at Brands Hatch in the wet earlier in the year, so he likes the circuit. He's in 3rd, right with Michael Rutter, and I have to say, I think it's only a matter of time before Emmett goes past Michael Rutter. He's all over the back of the Honda man, he's on the inside, and he's through. Emmett has had 1 win this season. Is he on his way to win number 2? Ahead of him is an extremely motivated Chris Walker, number 2, who is keen to get some fresh air between himself and Neil Mackenzie, who is currently in 4th place. There's Mackenzie, number 1. Number 3, Terry Reimer, is going right with him. No sign yet of John Reynolds, who's clearly got a bigger job on his hands. Jim Moody, number 21, is going hard after Terry Reimer, and there are no less than 8 riders who are so close each of them could win the race. Mackenzie, very cautious, obviously aware that if he does anything silly, it's still not too late to lose the championship. All he needs to do now, Roger, is ride consistently, and he'll be thinking just that, won't he?
Absolutely. We've got the top 8 guys in the championship in this pack, and it's so exciting. Interestingly, there are 5 different makes of bike in this front-running pack, and I think that that is a real compliment to the people that put this Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship together, that they've got it so close.
After this race, there are 2 rounds at Donington Park, rounds 21 and 22. At this point in the season, are the riders thinking, what am I going to be doing next year? Do I have to try harder to impress people? Some of them maybe have already got deals sorted out.
Well, they're all true professionals and they're all trying their best, Barry, but the point is that this time of the year does bring the best out in the riders because they're looking for a job next year, basically. That man, Sean Emmett there, he's trying exceptionally hard today. We can see him heeling the bike over there through Druid's Corner, and somebody's off, and it's Moody. That's Moody throwing it away, so that's very, very disappointing indeed for the Suzuki team this weekend. Matt Llewellyn retiring from round 19, and now Jim Moody crashing out of round 20.
Michael Rutter, number 4, fighting back, anxious to grab that 2nd place from Sean Emmett again if he can, because Neil Mackenzie and Terry Reimer having a much, much better ride. The lanky Londoner, as I say, it's his local track. He did a lot of his early riding down here. There's a huge car. That's Matt Llewellyn. That's the other Suzuki. So a 2nd retirement for Matt Llewellyn. And my heart goes out to him. And of course, the whole Suzuki team. Paul Denning, running the Crescent team, has put a great deal of time, effort, and not least of all money into this season. Let's hope they continue for 1998. They've been a colourful addition, Roger, to the national scene.
They certainly have, as all of the teams have, and it's very important that everybody continues for 1998 because we've got a great Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship here. Chris Walker now leads them round onto the back straight from Sean Emmett. Now Mackenzie's up to 3rd. Mackenzie's creeping his way forward ahead of Rutter now, with McPherson ahead of Reimer, so that's an interesting combination. McPherson now ahead of Reimer, and on the back of that bunch, John Reynolds.
Yeah, the stocky number 13 Kawasaki rider Ian McPherson. This is his 1st season on a superbike, and he's really acquitted himself admirably. He's gone past what I have to say would have been the number 1 rider in that team, Terry Reimer, who had some good results early in the season, but has failed to really hit his true potential, I think it's fair to say, in the closing part of the season. But look at number 13, McPherson. Look at Chris Walker. Look at Sean Emmett, number 5. Emmett has by no means given up the chase. He is really charging hard. Walker then number 2 leads. Number 5, Sean Emmett. Mackenzie number 1 in 3rd. Up to 4th has gone McPherson, number 13. And he's on a charge. He's setting the quickest time round here. He's on the inside, looking at 3rd past Mackenzie. Now, if he's got the nerve to go past Neil Mackenzie, that will send everybody a very clear message that he means business. And I think, looking towards 1998, he's a man who can win. He's gone past Neil Mackenzie. At Druids, McPherson, precocious talent that he is, has gone past Neil Mackenzie, fellow Scot, and something, Roger, of a mentor.
Well, psychologically, that would have taken quite a bit of strength from Ian McPherson, as he now tries on the inside of Sean Emmett, but he's not going to make it there, because Neil Mackenzie was one of the people that put Ian McPherson into the ride that he's got now. It was his advice that said, we've got this guy in Scotland, he's very committed, give him a go.
Winner of the 1st race at Knockhill, Ian McPherson, number 13, so no stranger to the podium. He is one of 7 riders who have scored victories in this series. That underlines just how close and how competitive the championship is. He's gone for second place. McPherson at Dingle Dell, and that's a notoriously difficult place to pass. He's gone past Sean Emmett. Emmett now in third. McPherson number 13 in second. Walker, the race leader, still doing everything he has to do and more, but not well enough because Mackenzie now back up to third. He was fourth. He's not going to let go of that podium place. He knows the title is just a grasp away. He all but has it with both hands now. He's just got to sit where he is, but knowing Mackenzie, Roger, he won't settle for third.
Well, most people would have wanted a sick note to have 8 weeks off work with the injury that Neil Mackenzie's carrying, but a couple of weeks after Cadwell Park, he's here fighting, not just for the championship, but to win the second race today.
And we're talking not just a hairline crack here, we're talking a fracture of the radius, which is the bigger of the 2 bones in the lower left forearm. He's got a lightweight cast, holding it stiff and rigid, supporting his hand, supporting his wrist, and he's doing an admirable job in third place. And he's looking now at the number 13 Kawasaki of Ian McPherson and going past it. It's a Yamaha 1-2, or it's almost a Yamaha 1-1, because Neil Mackenzie won on the bike, showed his front wheel to Chris Walker, who is wriggling away, the back end of the bike moving. The styles contrast unbelievably so. Mackenzie, the second place man, championship leader, so smooth. Chris Walker, youngster, young pretender, ex-motocrosser, wriggles all over the bike, makes the back tyre work all over the track, leaves huge black lines when he powers out of the bends. You can see some of them on the exit of that left-hander there as they go down towards Clearways. Mackenzie on the inside, doing just enough, Roger, and no more, but I wouldn't bet against him winning this one.
Well, Mackenzie's riding with a lot of confidence, and when you're very confident, you have the ability to kind of go up a gear. All of the riders are there in that tight bunch, and it's looking to me like Mackenzie wants to try and get to lead the bunch so that he can really put the pressure on the other riders, try and pull away from them, and thus giving himself the best opportunity to win the race. As you said, he's got a contrasting style to Chris Walker. Chris Walker's great. He entertains the crowd. His bike's out of shape a lot. Neil Mackenzie sits there quite rigidly on the bike, keeps everything in line, everything together, gets maximum grip, but turns the results in.
Walker very effective though. The number 2 young teammate of Mackenzie pops a wheelie as he goes over the crest of the hill. Look how close the pack is. We are well into the race now, and none of them have given up the chase. They're all in there. They're all waiting to see what happens between this Yamaha pair, because everybody knows, not least of all Mackenzie, this is where the battle is. The British Championship for 1997 is at stake here, one way or the other. Is it going to go Mackenzie's way so that he goes to Donington in a fairly relaxed state of mind, or is Sean Emmett going to put a spanner in the works, which he does? Emmett has dived between the 2 Yamahas, and he now is up to second. Down to Clearways, side by side. Mackenzie on the inside of Emmett and goes through, reclaiming that second place. It's a Yamaha 1-2 again, but Emmett means business. He's in the slipstream of the reigning champion. Is the Ducati fast enough? Because we know those Yamahas are quick. He's done it again. Paddock Hill bend, Emmett in second, Mackenzie cutting back, Emmett sweeping wide, but at Druids, Walker, Emmett looking at the inside of Walker. Goodness me, maybe the throttle's stuck on the Ducati. He's certainly piling on the coals, seemingly, Roger, sweeping to what looks like a victory.
Well, Mackenzie now is looking at the back of Sean Emmett and the back of Chris Walker, wondering what happened that lap, but he'll get his composure. One of the things that Neil Mackenzie did say to me was that the plaster cast, although it gave him rigidity, he was frightened if the bike got out of control a little bit, whether he got a slide or a wiggle, and it snapped and hurt his wrist. That's what he feared the most.
Again on the inside, Mackenzie of Sean Emmett. So the Yamahas are running 1-2 again. Down to third goes Sean Emmett. Up to fourth now, John Reynolds. Terry Reimer has been dropped away because it's McPherson in 5th place. Number 13, Ian McPherson, with the red Ducati of Reynolds. McPherson looking hard for 4th place. He really is pushing the Kawasaki almost to the outer limits. The 2 Yamahas still under that relentless pressure from Sean Emmett. His GSE Ducati team have a whole truckload of corporate guests here today. I guarantee they're not sitting down. I guarantee they're at the windows of the hospitality suite wondering, if indeed as I'm wondering, whether Sean Emmett can pull this one off. Reynolds is gathering momentum in 4th place now. The red Ducati, Chris Walker, holding on to this lead very well. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Mackenzie with sparks coming out of the back of Walker's bike. Mackenzie on his way to a double win. And look at the back wheel of Chris Walker's Yamaha under braking. Sean Emmett, the number 5 Ducati now, closing down the Yamaha youngster. Is the Ducati man going to find his way past? Neil Mackenzie, I just take my hat off to him. He is oh so smooth. This is more, Roger, than Neil Mackenzie could possibly have dreamt of a double victory, if, of course, he gets to the checkered flag in one piece.
Well, I saw him after he left Cadwell Park with that broken wrist, and he didn't even think he was going to be riding here, let alone win a race, and now he's on his way to trying to win his 2nd race. But for those of you that think that Chris Walker's bike has got a problem, it hasn't. Those sparks are being caused because he's leaning the bike over so far that something's grounding on the road, thus causing sparks to come off it.
Well, it's certainly Chris Walker's riding style, and we've talked at length about that, but up the inside goes Sean Emmett again at Dingle through the little chicane. That's a difficult place to pass. A brave move by Emmett, but he's another rider who knows this Brands Hatch circuit intimately. He comes from the home counties. He will have done most of his testing and early riding down here. Now then, Emmett oh, there's one gone. That was a Kawasaki. In the dust, I can only guess. Oops, McPherson. McPherson, number 13, out of the running in a cloud of dust. Let's hope the rider's okay. On the last lap, 2.6 miles to go. Sean Emmett sitting there now in 2nd place. There's McPherson. Fortunately on his feet. What a disappointment for the young Scotsman. He was going well. Mackenzie, Emmett, Walker, John Reynolds smells that 3rd place is here for the asking. Will the Ducati man make it? The Yamaha of Walker, and look at Reynolds now climbing all over the back, Roger.
Absolutely outstanding performance from John Reynolds, got to say that. That guy's in so much pain you couldn't believe it. He's bound to be delighted with this performance.
Well, he'll go one better at Donington Park for rounds 21 and 22, I'm sure. Chris Walker, though, holding him at bay at the moment. Mackenzie dropping down towards Clearways with number 5, Sean Emmett, in hot pursuit. The right-hander now is all that stands between Neil Mackenzie, the checkered flag, and the 1997 Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship, and he's made it. A sigh of relief uttered by Neil Mackenzie, I'm sure, under that visor. What an incredible performance, and the first to acknowledge that is Sean Emmett, because he knows what Mackenzie has gone through. The crowd applaud a worthy champion as they round Druids. There it is, Mackenzie from Emmett, Walker and Reynolds, a brave ride by the 2 Ducati men. Reimer, Rutter, Hislop and Stringer, there's not one of them won't pay homage to Neil Mackenzie.
Big relief. Been a few ups and downs this year. I mean, I have had a lot of race wins, but it wasn't over when I broke my wrist at Cadwell Park, so I mean, it's a dream come true to come back to Brands Hatch to the next round and win both races and get the championship in the bag before the season's over. Over the moon.
How much does it mean to you actually winning this championship?
Well, a lot. I mean, I think there's been 7 race winners this year, and last year there was only 3, so that shows you how competitive it is. There's sort of 8 factory bikes out there. All the guys are capable of winning races and the championship, and I've been the most consistent and managed to get it in the bag, so I'm really, really pleased. Really satisfied.
Well, there it is. Walker will be the runner-up, that's for sure. Michael Rutter still in 3rd, but Reynolds could pip him on his home circuit at Donington. Emmett McPherson is in front of Reimer, and the Suzuki of Moody's still there in 8th. It'll be interesting to see if Ray Stringer gets a factory ride next year. He is clearly the best in the privateer class. Over half the entry were privateers, and you can see the top 8 there. Andy Hatton hasn't ridden since his mid-season injury. Yamaha walking away with the manufacturer's title. Kawasaki ahead of Honda. The plaster cast on Neil Mackenzie's left hand not preventing him from celebrating, and his relief is evident there. No one there more pleased than his teammate Chris Walker. Sean Emmett fought very hard. He is delighted as well. No one knows better than those 2 riders what this man went through. So celebrations for the 1997 Motorcycle News British Superbike champion.
Last time it went to the wire. This time he wrapped it up with races to spare. Neil Mackenzie started the year as he meant to go on, with a double back in April at Donington. His wife Jan and the team manager Rob McElnay joined in the celebrations. Thruxton, Oulton and Mallory Park saw 3 more doubles, this time consecutively. 2 crashes followed, but Neil retained his title at Brands Hatch with a double, of course, and that despite the crash at Cadwell, which had broken his left wrist. Of the 20 rounds raced so far, Neil Mackenzie has won an astounding 12 of them. And who's to say he won't add 2 more notches to his gun this weekend at Donington Park?
Neil, the job is done again. You've retained the British Championship. You come to the final round. You must be happy about that.
That's great, because last year there was a huge amount of pressure when we came to the final round at Donington. I was on equal points with James Whittam, and for both of us it was a nightmare weekend. We were good buddies, but both wanted to win the championship really badly. But I managed to tie it up at Brands, and it's a real treat to come here and just enjoy it and hopefully win both races. But just relax and enjoy riding the bike.
Big question, 1998. It's contract time right now. What's happening with Neil Mackenzie?
Well, if you sort of look at the press, they're all everyone's writing in saying that I should be hanging my letters up and giving the young lads a chance. But I'm really enjoying racing. I've got all sorts of offers for next year at the moment. I want to be racing, that's for sure, because I'm enjoying it more than ever, and I want to be out there.
In your view, who do you think is going to be the main challenger for 1998? Who is going to be the man to watch during 1998, or who are the men to watch?
Well, I think that there'll be a few. It depends who's motivated the most. Now, I mean, I'm completely motivated. I want it really, really bad. Chris Walker is getting better with every race, my teammate, and if he's on a good bike next year, he's going to be right there. He wants to win that championship. He's been second this year, so there's only one place to go for him. Terry Reimer's got the ability if he really wants it, and as John Reynolds. And there's people like Michael Rutter that are young lads on factory bikes, proved themselves at World Superbike this year. He's got the potential. He looks great on the bike, and if he get up a bit earlier in the morning and get down the gym and train a bit, he's got everything else that he needs to win the championship. He just needs to want it a bit more, I think.
The ever-suave Neil Mackenzie can concentrate on winning races today. He's been champion since Brands Hatch, and his teammate Chris Walker is safe in second. But there's still a battle on for third in the championship. It's Rutter's to lose, but Emmett and Reynolds could still both snatch it. The Boosty boys haven't slowed down, though. They're first and second on the grid in front of Reynolds and Llewellyn. Row 2 is led by Emmett, suffering from torn knee ligaments. There is no Jim Moody. He's out with damaged ribs after a crash in qualifying. The top privateers lead Row 3, and that's ex-Supersport champ Dave Heel in 12th on a V&M Honda. Round 21 got away cleanly, and it was the pole sitter Chris Walker on the Yamaha who led down Craner curves for the first time. Behind him, McPherson, Llewellyn, Mackenzie, Rutter, Reimer, Reynolds, and the rest of the usual crew. But coming out of Coppice Corner on lap 3, the privateer Scott Haney was slung off his Suzuki at well over 130 miles an hour. He bounced onto the grass, his bike ran away, and not surprisingly, they had to stop the race to pick up all the debris. This is now a 2-part race, and they line up on the grid in the order they finished that first part. Take a look at the time gaps between them, because that could be significant for the overall result when we add the times of these 2 races together.
Cameras at the ready, lights at the ready, and the grid is ready, and straight to green from red as fast as that. Well, that would have caught someone out for sure. Look at the Cadbury's Boost Yamaha, though, off the line. It is Chris Walker who drops it in front of his teammate Neil Mackenzie. What an outstanding start that is for Yamaha. Through Redgate Corner then, oh, bit of bunching. There's a really tricky corner that one is. Along Hollywood and down Craner curves for the first time. And look at that V&M bike on the outside there. That's Rutter trying to get under the Suzuki over who? Is
Matt Llewellyn on the Suzuki.
Matt Llewellyn having a great start there in 3rd place at the moment. Number 20, but behind him, number 4, it is Rutter. And behind him, it's Terry Reimer. So Reimer there, looked like John Reynolds in the hunt as well as we look back to the hairpin, and that's Sean Emmett.
Oh, Sean Emmett, he tore his knee ligaments in qualifying. That'll have done him no good whatsoever. And he's due a trip to the Far East with the Red Bull boys for World Superbike. What'll happen there, I wonder?
Redgate, Walker goes through, Mackenzie goes through, Llewellyn, and look who's up the inside of the V&M man. It is John Reynolds. John Reynolds from Nottingham, flying on the Reve Red Bull Ducati there, has got in front of Michael Rutter. Along Hollywood, down Craner curves. Walker getting away from Mackenzie. Then it's Matt Llewellyn, and look who's right there. Well, John Reynolds, not a great season by his standards at all this year, but he's right on the case. He holds the lap record here through the under the Suzuki there, under Starkey's Bridge. Reynolds on the charge.
He didn't spare him a glance, did he? That was absolutely wonderful stuff from John Reynolds. What a pity that crash at Mallory qualifying really interrupted his season so badly. Because for my money, Keith, he's the one man who would have given Neil Mackenzie a season-long fight for the title.
Chris Walker might dispute that, of course. He's the man that has
So might Terry Reimer, I suppose.
So might Terry Reimer. But there you go. Oh, Reimer under attack now as well. Reimer and Rutter almost came together there. Coming. Oh, big wheelie from the RC45 of Michael Rutter. And now McPherson is on the case. McPherson on bike 13. Down into the chicane. This is a great little track, this national circuit, when you've got the chicane there. This is how it used to be run.
It's how I prefer it, and all, Keith, to be honest. I really like this as a racetrack.
Oh, from a racer's point of view, I used to like it this way as well. On board then with Michael Rutter at the end of pit lane, tipping into Redgate corner now. The pub on the left. Oh, McPherson
on the right.
So then, that is McPherson coming through. Now it's Hollywood, down towards Craners. You can hear the RC45, it sounds beautiful.
That bike has improved very much this year, hasn't it? They've really made that thing work.
Great stuff down Craners, into the old hairpin. This is where Emmett lost it. You can see why it looks slow when you look at it from the outside of the track, but it's a third gear fast corner, and that's another man in the barriers. Where is that? Well,
looks like it's out at Coppice, Keith, to me.
So that looked like Pete Jennings, the Dewsbury Pete Jennings, laying in the barrier there. Back out towards Redgate. Reynolds is on the case. Walker leads. Mackenzie comes to the inside at Redgate. That's it. Neil goes through. Well, there's something that's inevitable about that, isn't there, really?
And look how he holds the line. Look at Walker struggling, but no.
Looking back from Neil Mackenzie into the eyes of his teammate on the Cadbury's Boost Yamaha. Down Craner curves. Absolutely outstanding pictures here at Donington. Down a couple of gears for the old hairpin now. The right-hander. Then power on under Starkey's Bridge, making the rear wheel spin as it sits on its side. There's the bridge, up towards McLean's braking area now. Back a couple of gears, there it goes. Mackenzie's superb. Through the right-hander, then up the rise towards Coppice. Still looking back at Chris Walker. And John Reynolds in third place. Blind right-hander at the top here, and you've got to just chuck it in there. You can't see the right-hander part of it at all. Then feed the power on all the way through this turn. Short shifting up through fourth, up through fifth. Walker looks back into the eyes of John Reynolds. Reynolds is going to be with him in a minute.
He better start worrying about what's happening behind him, not in front of him, Chris Walker, because that Ducati is on the way. Not this time, John.
He looks good, though. He was running in real hot there.
Rehearsal.
Perfect line indeed from John Reynolds down into the chicane. Still Matt Llewellyn on the Crescent Suzuki there in fourth. That is a marked improvement from Matt.
He likes it round here. He's good round here, and that bike has improved as well. But John Reynolds looks really awesome at the moment. Chris Walker, well, I think it's a matter of time, Keith. We're back on board.
Yeah, we can take a look now from Michael Rudder as he tries up the inside of McPherson. Does he make it into the chicane? Whoa! It comes no closer than that. And through goes Reimer as well.
Shock value.
Over the start and finish line then on the V&M Honda with Michael Rutter. Back with the battle for second place. Number 2, Chris Walker has it at the moment, but John Reynolds on 33 wants it through the chicane. Look at Reynolds. He is a real style master.
Thank you, John.
As he gets it up in the air, coming out of Goddard's.
Remember the first race of the season there? He had a big crash there as well.
Through Redgate, Mackenzie leads this man, Chris Walker. Oh, Walker looks desperate to hang on to second place.
He looks ragged, doesn't he?
Oh, and that's Ray Stringer. Ray Stringer down on the floor. Number 7 is Ray Stringer. So Big Ray on the Sabre Kawasaki bike bites the dirt at the chicane.
He's already the Privateers champion, so just the old pride dented there, I feel.
Severely.
Oh, here goes Reynolds.
And again, Reynolds there. He carries such corner speed through that old hairpin. And really, he did the same thing to Matt Llewellyn in exactly the same place. Up into McLean's now. It's John Reynolds on 33, who is in second place. Chris Walker can only look on in awe. And now, Reynolds versus Mackenzie. Well, wet your lips for that one, Julian.
Absolutely. This is the one we've been waiting for. We've seen it at Oulton Park a couple of times. Look at Reynolds laying rubber around Coppice there. That critical corner. Now, this must be Ray Stringer's crash. Watch the yellow front number plate. Yep, turns in and the front end goes. Well, that's the classic crash for that corner, isn't it, Keith? And Ray is already the Privateers champion. Just a small repair bill for that Kawasaki.
Look at this, teammates at Kawasaki. Ha, no team orders today from these two. McPherson and Reimer doing battle 13 and 3 on the two works Kawasaki's up the hill towards Coppice.
McPherson wins my vote for most improved rider of the year. He was just a super sport guy no one had really heard of before this year, but I think he's about to get some pressure from his illustrious team leader Terry Reimer right in the slipstream. Another classic move, Keith.
Reimer then gets into the slipstream of McPherson on the brakes at the chicane. Yes, Terry Reimer shows his class at Ian McPherson through the right left flick then on to the start and finish straight. Reimer back on the charge. He sorely wants to beat McPherson because Reimer surely doesn't know where he's going for 98 just yet. Kawasaki team sort themselves out, but we can go back into pit lane now and find out what happened to the privateer Kawasaki man, Ray Stringer.
My own fault, really. I tried going up the inside of Dean and got past him okay, but I had to go in really tight, push the front, and down she went.
Clearly not at all worried about what happened. Ray Stringer then, perfectly okay, but Neil Mackenzie now, the champion of 1997, has the ex-British champion right on his tail, John Reynolds, on the Revo Red Bull Ducati. And when Reynolds is in this mood, even Mackenzie's got to move over. So then, onto the back straight, Reynolds lining himself up. He's looking at the rear end of Mackenzie, but that Yamaha is fast. And here is the leading privateer, the other Sabre Airways Kawasaki. It's Steve Hislop doing the business for Ray Stringer's team.
I still find it somewhat amusing to see Steve Hislop with a yellow privateer number plate on. All power to Ray Stringer, though, for signing him up to the team.
Steve Hislop would have been unemployed if Ray hadn't had the foresight for that one. So, number 11, Steve Hislop, comes down to a lonely chicane, all on his own. He's the leading privateer. He's been pinching points off Ray Stringer all year long. Ray will be watching him from pit wall now, of course, because he's taken a bit of an early bath. Now then, talking of early path, this could all end up in the sandpit. Chris Walker under attack for third place now from Terry Reimer. Reimer has wound the wick up on that Kawasaki and is putting Chris Walker under severe pressure. Chris Walker, well, he's been sick all week. He really does not look himself at all, off track or on it. And Reimer, well, he's trying to make him feel even worse.
Well, I think that back marker got in Terry's way just enough to mean he can't make a challenge now. Walker has a couple of bike lengths. I feel that could be vital. No, the Kawasaki's close enough.
Yes.
But that Yamaha's quick enough, I think, Keith.
It certainly isn't a straight line. We're on the last lap then. This is the charge down. Neil Mackenzie's already got it sorted out. He's going to take the checker flag from John Reynolds. Reynolds all but getting it.
Oh,
and Reimer on the brakes.
Oh, too far.
Oh, it's brilliant. He just nudges Chris Walker off. Poor Chris Walker. He's had a runny nose all week and he's just had it wiped with a Kawasaki.
But it didn't matter because on aggregate time, Chris Walker kept his third place, Terry Reimer fourth, Neil Mackenzie, of course, the winner, his 13th of the year. John Reynolds second, still looking for third place in the championship.
It's a bit of a treat coming here, no championship to think about, it's all in the bag and just go out and have a bit of fun, but it's obviously I still want to win and it's nice to win the first one. It's going to be hard in the second one because John Reynolds is on the pace and he gave me a hard time, but we'll see what happens.
The most significant thing about that result was that John Reynolds scored 20 points for second place. And look at the gap now between him and Rutter. Only 18 points between them in the chase for third place in the championship.
For the applause of what he considers to be his home track, Neil Mackenzie then picks up the spoils of victory, his 13th win in the series. Can he make it 2 out of 2? Find out after the break. At Donington all day. This is the 22nd and final race of the British Superbike Championship. They're on the grid. We're with Michael Rudder. The lights go red and green so very, very fast. Didn't catch anybody out that time, though. Streaming off down towards Redgate Corner then. Still on board with Rutter. That Reynolds just in front of us there. Reynolds tips it in. Rutter going a long way around the outside. It's going to be tight. It always... Oh, that's a Suzuki, was that? That must be Llewellyn there. Oh, that's Hislop. Hislop clouts Mackenzie. So fellow Scotsman Mackenzie is whacked by Hislop coming into Redgate. Well, all's fair in love and war.
There's Reynolds on the inside of our cameraman Rutter as well as they go down to the old hairpin.
Down to the old hairpin now. Oh, Reynolds out wide. Reynolds out really wide. In fact, he don't get any wider than that. He's out on the greenery. Won't get a lot of grip out there, John. So he's blown it in race 2. Had a lousy start in race 1 and had to work ever so hard, but he's done it again here. Here is McPherson on 13, being challenged by the private Kawasaki of Hizzy, who has barged his way.
I'd stay out of his way if I were you at the moment, the way Hislop's riding. And in front of that pair, another Kawasaki, number 3, Too Tall Tell. Terry Reimer doesn't want to be beaten by his teammate, does he?
And I saw Mackenzie riding around the outside then. Mackenzie was riding right around the outside and slowing down back through the pack. So a problem for Neil Mackenzie as McPherson. Well, we've seen McPherson on the brakes. He is really McPherson. And you won't get up the inside of him unless you really are in a desperate mood. Is he then? There he is. Well, he's the leading privateer at Donington Park this weekend, that's for certain. Now we're on board with Neil Mackenzie, and Mackenzie is coming to the end of the straight with no one behind him, which indicates to me he's coming into pit lane. Yep, surely. Yes, he is. So Mackenzie there with a problem. Had it got anything to do with Hislop clouting him in turn 1? That leaves Chris Walker with Sean Emmett. Now, Emmett could ride Donington pretty well. The ex-Grand Prix man.
You're not kidding, are you?
Doesn't come any better than that, really, does it? So Sean Emmett then on the Duke. Those Ducatis look so good out the old hairpin there. Walker comes backing him into the braking area at McLean's. Well, we saw Emmett picking himself out of the dirt in race 1.
Race 2, surely, for the team Groundwork South East Ducati team. It's a private team, despite the fact it's got a white number plate. It is, to all intents and purposes, an absolute private team. So a win here at Donington Park in the very final race of the year would go down very well with them, I think.
Here comes a very quick Yamaha. Chris Walker up the inside. There's some top-end grunt in that Yamaha. Sean, torn knee ligaments and all, pushed out, second place. Good, clean pass from Chris Walker.
Yeah, that's what a bit of horsepower and a determined braking manoeuvre does for you at the chicane here on the national track at Donington Park. This lovely little short track. In my view, they ruined it when they put the loop in. And we can catch up with Neil Mackenzie now, who's back in pit lane.
Well, Steve Islop hit me coming out of Redgate, just ran underneath me and clipped my front brake lever and broke the brake lever. So when I go for the brake, it wasn't there, and far too dangerous to carry on. So.
Well, the championship's his, but the last race win might well go to his teammate Chris Walker. He deserves it. He's feeling sick, and after the first race, I can see why. Michael Rutter then has Llewellyn, who is riding that Crescent Suzuki very well. He cuts underneath him at Redgate, but will the power of the Honda get back under him at Hollywood? Answer, no.
And Matt Llewellyn, you know, has had a very good year working hard on a bike that shouldn't be competitive if you look at world class and other classes of superbikes. But Matt Llewellyn going so well on the GSXR Crescent Suzuki around here.
Very stylish rider indeed. We're talking about Llewellyn. This man's not bad either. Too Tall, who's now, what, 30 years old. He's going to be a veteran soon. I remember when he used to take Mickey out of me at being that age.
Well, yeah,
so
when he was beating you as a teenager, as I recall. I'm sure you won't want to talk about that, though, Keith, as we watch the man who now has won 3 Bowl d'Ors, powering down the back straight. He'd like a win for the last race of the year as well. He hasn't had one yet.
He's going to have to be going some if he's going to beat the men in front of him. So Reimer then on the charge at the chicane.
Still a class act, isn't he, Terry Reimer?
When he races his game, he really is. It just depends on what kind of day he's having at the moment. The Kawasaki's not been the best for him this year. McPherson really has stolen his thunder, I think, in that team. The V&M Honda wheelies under the Dunlop Bridge. That's Michael Rutter now got the better of Matt Llewellyn. Llewellyn on the Crescent Suzuki on bike number 20. Through the chicane, onto the start and finish straight. Take a glance at the pit board.
And of course, Keith, this is good enough for 3rd place in the championship with John Reynolds basically at the back of the field after that first lap incident. Mike Rutter, that's a great achievement. If he does get 3rd in the championship on an unheralded RC45, Keith, that is a really good season for the Briley Hill boy.
Well, he's had a couple of good rides this year for sure, beating John Kaczynski and Carl Fogarty in the wet at Brands Hatch's World Superbike round. What a superb ride that was. And Rutter, oh, he's still only 24 years old, remember?
Yeah, that was in the second half of that race, the aggregate race. That was the wet half. Of course, unfortunately, he only got 3rd overall, but still a magnificent achievement at world level.
He's been stamping some authority on this championship as well. Cadwell Park, of course, in the wet again. So Rutter, if he can start doing it in the dry like he does in the wet, I think we're in for a real shock from this young man next year. This is the battle for 5th and 6th place, but as you've already pointed out, Jules, significant for Michael Rutter, because if he manages to pull it off, he will get 3rd place in the Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship this year. Down to the chicane then. Wheelie under the Dunlop Bridge, into the braking area. Rutter looks calm and collected. Llewellyn looks like he wants to collect. Michael Rutter.
Nothing to lose, is there for Matt?
Not at all.
Back
Here
with
we
the leader.
are. This is the leader, Chris Walker.
Steady, Chris.
Yeah, he's got back markers in his way. That's why he took his line of sight there. Number 26 was Colin Hipwell. And there's heaps more of them as well. Chris Walker has got loads of back markers to dispense with, but he's got a safe 1st place at the moment. So it is going to be, well, 2 out of 2 for Cadbury's Boost Yamaha. The first race going to Neil Mackenzie as Walker looks over his shoulder. The second race is going to go to this man. Chris Walker is going to win. He's on the last lap. He's got a short distance to go now to take the checker flag. Walker's riding amongst them, but it's a safe win for him. That'll make his week. He's not been well all week long. He finishes his British Superbike Championship with a massive wheelie and a win, and sets himself up for 1998 just perfectly. Back down the track now. This is the battle for 5th place, and Michael Rutter has it, but Llewellyn is charging. Llewellyn! Oh, dear me.
Reimer-esque.
Well, very much so. So Llewellyn pitches it, but over the line it is Llewellyn. Rutter is forced back to 6th, but he will still get that 3rd place in the championship, and I think body language tells us something.
He's not going to shake hands there, is he? You don't see him annoyed very often, but I think Michael Rutter is now seriously annoyed. Despite John Reynolds fighting his way up to 7th place, that 6th place for Michael Rutter on the bottom of the caption was good enough for 3rd in the championship. Amazingly, that was only Chris Walker's 3rd win of the season.
Well, Chris, you've been in all week, but it was worth it in the end. Yeah, I can't believe it, to be honest. I mean, yesterday getting pole wasn't so tough because you could just do 2 or 3 laps at a time, and I can cope with that. First race I really struggled. I got tired after a few laps, and when the tyre went off, I didn't really have the physicalness of me left in it to wrestle it around. I just had to kind of let it do its stuff and slow down a little bit. For that race, I fitted a harder rear tyre so that hopefully it won't have quite so much initial grip, but just look after me longer, and it worked perfect. It was brilliant.
No problems at all. Do you feel drained now? Do you feel worn out?
I'm ready for bed.
Very well done. Second place secured in the championship.
Perfect.
Any words about Neil?
I didn't actually realise Neil had gone out. Still don't know why he has gone out, but no, I mean, it's been a fantastic year. Neil's been the best teammate you could ever wish to have, and hopefully we'll be my teammate again next year, with the Boost boys as well. Yamaha and Cadwell have been superb, so look forward to another year just the same.
Great way to finish 97.
Thank you, Keith. Cheers.
We knew about those Yamaha men, Mackenzie and Walker, hogging the top 2 places, but the Donington meeting has confirmed that Rutter, Reynolds and Emmett finish in 3rd, 4th and 5th places. Ian McPherson finishes 6th, or 1 ahead of his more experienced teammate, Terry Reimer.
It all started right here at Donington Park 6 months ago. You've had the full Monty on full throttle. What a great British Championship season it's been. We leave you with some of the highlights of this year's series.